And I think it is live. Oh, yes. I am live. Let's see how we go. Because I've been having issues with internet connection to this computer. I don't know why. I have got the signal booster on, so let's see how we go. So, I don't know how long I'm going to be until people start joining me. But we'll just see how things go. I have posted on social media in certain places. So let's see how we go. I hope everybody's well. I hope everyone's good. And yeah, I am well. I am very well. So just wait in a few minutes. I'll see if anybody does pop on in. This is a little bit earlier than I usually go live, and I don't usually go live on a Saturday. So, but this is more of a connection test and just see how things go. See if anything does come up of it. We will see. Well, yes, what have I been up to? I've not been up to much. Obviously, I was off. Obviously, I've been off work. Obviously, this is my weekend, of course. I was working as normal. My last day was Thursday, and yesterday I did very little. As I watched The Lord of the Rings. So I got the Blu-ray Middle Earth box set that comes with both the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit trilogy. And yeah, I watched the Lord of the Rings last night and just had a chilled night, watching a film and that, you know. Yeah, so I was pretty much last night, and tonight I've done very little again. I uploaded a video to my main channel about an hour ago roughly. So I uploaded a new video to my main channel. I made a vlog yesterday as well. Last night I made a new vlog. So yeah, I've been somewhat productive, just kind of like getting some videos out as you do. So we'll just play the waiting game and just see if anybody does come on in. We will see. There's one person here, I think. Andy Prime. Hello, how are you, my friend? Hope you're well. Hope everything's well with you. You haven't missed much. You were literally the first viewer. But yeah, all good here. All good with me. I've done very little this weekend so far. I watched The Lord of the Rings last night again. I haven't watched it in a long time, so I watched that last night, and made a vlog for my main. I made a vlog for this channel, and made a main channel video as well today. So I've been a little bit productive. I hope everything's well with you. But yes. Oh yeah, as well, I did a collection update video as well on my main channel. Basically did a collection update, the 2026 edition. I went through everything that I currently have in my collection, all my figures, the different lines, and other different lines that I buy into, not just Transformers. So I showed off everything, and any new additions that I recently bought or stuff that I haven't shown as part of as part of, you know. So yes, that's pretty much been me. Andy Prime again says, I'm rewatching Black Clover and I'm as good as I'll ever be. Nice, good, great. Yeah, Black Clover. Well, you know what? That is an anime I need to watch properly. I think I've only watched a couple of episodes of that. So that is a series I definitely want to watch at some point. But yes, I mean I've been watching a bit of anime as well. I've been watching back to well. I did a massive rewatch of Bleach: 1,000 Year Blood War, right from chapter 1. So I watched 1,000 Year Blood War Bleach right from chapter 1 right through to chapter 3. It's actually my first. It's my first watch through of all 3 chapters since I initially watched them. So it's like my first time watching all 3 chapters back to back since they all went up. So I had a rewatch of Bleach: 1,000 Year Blood War again, and I picked up another series that was a rom-com series or a slice of life series. What was the name of that one? It was on Netflix. It was a series called The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity, I believe it's called. The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity. That's a really good series. Now, I have a bit of a soft spot for slice of life anime, and I know a lot of people don't like slice of life anime because nothing really happens. It is literally just a slice of life coming of age type of thing. But I have a bit of a soft spot for them type of anime. I'm not a big fan of rom-coms when it comes to films or TV series, like live action stuff. But when it comes to anime, I do like, some of my favourite series because the slice of life ones have pretty good comedy moments, and I've got some favourites of mine that I really do enjoy. And I watched The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity on Netflix. That's a really good series. If anyone is watching and like anime, that is a good series to watch. It's a very easy watch. It's only 12 episodes, I think. It's only about 12 episodes in length. It's relatively quite a regular, normal series in length. And I managed to literally blitz it within about 2 or 3 nights. Like in between work and all that. So that was really good. I really enjoyed that. It was a good series. There is a second season coming out apparently for that. Apparently, this word or rumor it could be released either late 2026 or at some point in 2027. So I think they're in production of it now. I think at the moment. So yeah, I watched that, and then I picked up what other anime have I been watching recently? There's another one I've been watching. You know what? I can't remember what the hell I've been watching. I can't remember now. There was another series I was watching as well. Yeah, I can't remember. It's got out my head. How weird. Andy Pram, I've been building book nooks. Oh, lovely. Very nice. And he says, got my nephew to watch Solo Leveling. He loved it. Oh, Solo Leveling. Yes. That is a very good series. That is bloody brilliant. You know, what's really quite interesting for me personally is the South Korean animation is coming on leaps and bounds at the moment. There is some series that are being produced in South Korea that I have never really got into. like the way they come over is very different to what I'm used to, and obviously there was more, um, you know, yeah, it's just, yeah, it's a bit strange, you know. It's a bit strange of like, I mean, how much South Korean animation has really come in leaps and bounds. It's like there is some stuff that I've like maybe watched a little bit of that was produced in South Korea, but the voice acting is just terrible, absolutely terrible in some of the stuff I've watched. But yet I will acknowledge they are more meant for a younger demographic. They are meant for like a really young child, so they come over in a certain way that, yeah. But when it comes to stuff like Solo Leveling, there has been some stuff come out over the past, say, 5 years or so that has really rivaled Japanese animation. In it really, you don't know the difference when you're watching it until they start saying the characters' names, because obviously in Japanese animation all the names are in Japanese usually. Like, you know what I mean. So you can tell it's set in Japan, but then when it comes to the Korean stuff, the only way that you know that it's not Japanese, it's actually Korean, is when they start kind of saying the character names and they're interacting with one another. But that's the only time you find out that it's a different country or different nationality or different culture again. But I really do like Solo Leveling. It's a fantastic series. I'm really looking forward to the next season of that. Really looking forward to that when that comes out. Smizno, Nosy, and then he says, "Have you worked the Stream Deck out?" No, I haven't. I've got it installed. It's on my computer. It is functional. It is functioning. I've updated the software that I had to download for it. Since I updated the software for it, it's working perfectly. However, I need to work out how to integrate the hotkeys over to it. It's a whole learning thing again. I am not very good when it comes to computer hardware and software. I'm not very, I very rarely ever go into this sort of thing. It seems relatively straightforward, but I don't want to use OBS if I can help it. This is what I use for my streams. I use StreamYard. StreamYard. The reason why I use StreamYard is that you don't have to pay to use this service or that service in order to do your live streams. I know with OBS, yes, you can use it like a free version, I believe, but it is I think it's like a limited time that you can use it free, and then you have to pay like a monthly fee or a yearly fee. I don't really want to use OBS if I can help it. Yeah, I don't want to use OBS if I can help it. The only alternative I knew about, when I was looking through, you see, I made a video about it, of me installing it on my main channel. I uploaded that about an hour ago, and it does support as a plugin on the Stream Dock that I've got. It does support the plugin or whatever for YouTube Live. However, I don't really use live through YouTube because you are restricted with YouTube Live unless you're at a number of subscribers. If you are over 1,000 or whatever, you can then actually add or bring in other people to the stream. But where I'm currently at with my subscriber number, I won't be able to utilize. It will literally just be me on my own. The reason why I prefer to use StreamYard is that I can bring in up to six. I can have up to 6 people, including myself. That I can have 6 people in a stream at once, and I don't pay a penny. This is completely free to use. I believe StreamYard have updated to use a Stream Deck, which is the official Stream Deck. Basically what I've got here is basically a Chinese knockoff of it, really, you could say. It does work in the same principle with hotkeys, and you basically do it through that way. But I need to kind of like spend some time with it until I start using it, because or even if I can even use it, that's the problem. I know StreamYard, they've only just recently updated it to use Stream Decks, and apparently it is limited. Apparently StreamYard, this service is a little bit, this service, StreamYard, is a little bit primitive at the moment. You can only use certain features with a Stream Deck. It's quite limited. So some stuff you have to do manually, and then other stuff you can do via the Stream Deck. So yeah, it depends. It might only work with the official one. It might not work with any of the off-branded ones. But I will see how it goes. It works. It's installed on my computer, okay, but whether it actually works for what I need it for is another thing entirely. Well, we will see. I will definitely have a play with it when I've got time, and see if I can actually get it set up and actually get it configured to what I want and what I want it for. We will see. Andy Prime says, about 15 different anime on my watch list. Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of anime on my watch list as well. A lot of stuff that I need to really get caught up on. I mean, Bleach, 000 Blood War is fantastic. I'm a big fan of Bleach anyway. I'm a big fan of the original Bleach series. And obviously 000 Blood War is just like, it's like God tier animation and everything. It's just fantastic. Solo Leveling's fantastic. Like I just said a moment ago, Netflix have some good stuff on there as well. Like Netflix original stuff, as well as stuff that they've actually kind of brought over from Crunchyroll. So there is actually quite a decent library of anime on Netflix at the moment. And like I just said, the series called A Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity, that is a really good shout. If you want to just have something where you just switch your brain off and you just want to sit quiet on a night, there's nothing on telly, there's nothing that you're interested in watching, and if you want to watch an anime and it's nothing too difficult to get your brain around, it's not too difficult to follow. If you just want a nice simple and funny comedy series, then I recommend that. It's a slice of life coming of age story, but it's really well done, and it's really well done. That everything about it, the elements to it, like everything about that series is just really well balanced. Like the comedy, the drama, the seriousness, everything about it is really well. It's really well covered. It's really well balanced, and it's quite difficult to find a series like that has a very good balance when it comes to everything about it. Raymond, he's watching all those series, but I guess he still has not watched Cyberworld all okay yet. No. No, I still haven't. I still haven't watched any of those yet. Oh dear. Smizno says, rather you than me. Okay. The thing is, I will say, Sam's in. Hello, Sam. I'm glad to know it works, but it works. It's installed. However, I haven't set it up to actually work with anything like this StreamYard yet. I do not know if StreamYard will even work with the one I've got. It works with the official Stream Deck by the Elgato's Stream Deck. It works with that, but it's still pretty primitive with what you can use it with. I don't know whether it'll work with an off-brand version or not. That's the thing. I know hotkeys are hotkeys and stuff, but it depends on the software and everything like that. With it being like with it being like an off-brand, the software might not recognize certain things. It does allow YouTube Live, but like I just said a moment ago, YouTube Live is very limiting. I can only go live on my own, like this. But if I wanted to bring somebody else in, I can. That's the downside of going live on YouTube, because where I am currently with my subscribers, I'm not high enough in subscribers in order to invite or bring other people onto the stream through YouTube. So yeah, it could be a limiting problem that this Stream Deck will have for me. It might work, but I haven't properly set it up yet or configured it in order to use it with StreamYard yet. But it's installed on the computer. It's installed. The everything seems to work when you drag and drop onto it. But whether it works with hotkey commands on here, I don't know. We will see. Andy Prime says Dandadan is a good one. Yeah, that is a good series. I've seen the first series of that. I need to check out season 2 of Dandadan. It is a good series, definitely. But yes. But yes. But yes. How is everybody doing anyways? I hope everybody's well. Yeah, so this is the first live stream of 2026 from me. I don't know how long I'm going to go on for. This is also a bit of a test as well for my internet connection, because typically I've been having problems with the internet staying connected to this PC. I don't know why, but for some reason the internet keeps dropping out whenever we go on it. It keeps just dropping out. Everything else in the house, everything else, like basically the TV and my phone is connected to the Wi-Fi. It works perfectly, but for some reason this computer has been having issues recently with staying connected to the internet. So at the moment, I've got the signal booster on, and it seems to be working so far. So we'll see how we go. So this is kind of like two birds with one stone, killing two birds with one stone in a way, by doing like a connection test to make sure it works and I don't lose any connection. See how we go. And also it's a way for me to kind of get a live stream out the first one of 2026. So how have people been? How's life been for anyone that's watching? Is there anything you've been watching recently? Any series? Any movies? Let's just get a general chat on the go, shall we? Whatever people want to talk about, we will talk about. Ooh. Let's see. Bloody hell. The amazing Atitch. Hey, how's it going, fella? Bloody hell, it's been a while. Squeeze a chair in and get Sam along for the shenanigans. I can message Sam and see if he wants to pop in for a bit. It depends on Sam. He is actually in the chat right now. So, Sam, would you like to join me live? Oh, are you much more happier being in the chat? I will leave it to you, my friend. You've been asked to join me, so would you like to? It's up to you. It would be easier to have somebody to bounce off of, actually, because there's a lot of silence until somebody comments at the moment. But it's up to you, Sam. And Sam is right there saying, been watching Chaos Theory. All right, cool, nice. Raymond says, what a bully John is, throwing stones at innocent birds. Yeah, suppose. Let me see if. Give me 1 second to see if Sam actually wants to. Sam says, apparently you can add people to a YouTube live stream. Yes, you can. However, I believe you've got to be over a certain milestone in subscribers. I might be wrong with that. I might be completely talking out of my ass with that, but I do remember when YouTube started doing live broadcasts or live streaming broadcasts, there was limitations. Anybody under a certain amount of subscribers could only kind of go live on their own, like it's just you on your own. But after you've gone over a certain milestone in subscribers, then you can start adding people to the stream. It might have changed. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Recently got Amazon Prime finally, getting to watch The Boys and Has Been Hotel. Oh, fantastic! Yes. You know what? There's some crap shit on Prime Video, and I don't. When it comes to streaming services, I don't like the idea where I'm paying for a service to watch stuff like similar to Netflix, but yet there's stuff on there I have to pay for if I want to watch it. That's not part of the free to watch through Prime. So, for instance, like if you want to watch something specific, you look it up and you're like, oh, I've got to rent it, I've got to buy it digitally. Why? That's the only downside of Prime. But however, there is some bloody good stuff on there though. There's animation wise, there is some incredible stuff. Um, I really do enjoy, like you just said a moment ago, The Boys is fantastic. Invincible is another great series. Invincible is absolutely great. Season 4 of Invincible is starting, I believe it's March. I think it's in about a month or two when that starts. And then you've got the Legend of the Critical Role series. Um, there we go. The Legend of Vox Machina. That's it. So there's. Bear with me. Sam's messaging me. Yeah, like I say, so the Legend of Vox Machina is another great series to watch if you're a fan of Dungeons and Dragons or D&D. There's another series by them, like a spin-off series that's just gone up on there as well. That is like a spin-off offshoot of Vox Machina. Yeah, there's some really great stuff on there, animation-wise, as well as The Boys as well, and yeah, there's some good stuff on there to watch. And Has Been Hotel. There's Has Been Hotel, and there's also the spin-off one as well. What is it? Oh, I forgot the name of it. The spin-off one as well. That's on there as well. Sam is going to join us. Sam is going to fingers with his presence. So I'm just going to send him the link, and then Sam can join us as well. Copy. There we go. Link sent to Sam. All right, so give Sam a couple of minutes, and he should be with us. Raymond says the He-Man trailer that dropped. Oh yes. Oh yeah, that's something we could definitely talk about. That's a question you need to. Yeah, I've got that is a question I'm going to bring to Sam when he's finally on. Oh, Andy. Yeah. Anyway, the He-Man trailer. Yeah, isn't that something? I will be honest. When they released the teaser for the trailer, the day before, they released a little teaser that was like about what 30 seconds or something to announce that the trailer was coming the next day, right? So the teaser before the actual trailer. I watched it and I thought it was fake. I will be honest, it came over like it was like AI, like a fake, like a fan put it together, kind of thing. And I thought this looks really, and I was like, that gave me absolutely nothing to go with. And then I watched the actual trailer that we're talking about right now. I watched the actual trailer and I was like, wow, this is actually looking pretty decent. Considering apparently, I think it was Sammy Skullgren. He mentioned apparently it's been about 19 years in development or something. I think they've done a good job. The casting choices for the characters look pretty good. I mean, Skeletor looks incredible. Whether Jared Leto will actually do a good job is another thing entirely. Apparently, a lot of people that was on set said the voice he puts on for Skeletor is actually really good. So it depends how that works. We'll see when the film comes out. But it looks pretty good. It looks cheesy. It looks proper. He-Man should be cheesy. That's the thing. I mean, if you look at the 80s cartoon for He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, it's as cheesy as they come. It's like a 6-layer cheese pizza, that cheesy, and it kind of grasps that aspect of. It really does grasp that cheesy 80s aspect of. It really does do it well. But yeah, I mean, I don't know much about He-Man and like the lore and the background. I watched it a little bit when I was younger. I haven't watched it in full. I haven't watched the 80s series in full. I need to pick it up at some point, the original, and just try and give it a watch. But yeah, I used to like it when I was a kid, but the original 80s cartoon certainly hasn't aged well. It hasn't aged very well, and I know they've tried to do a couple of like revamped series over the years as well, and they just didn't really go for very long. But yeah, I really hope this film does well. Masters of the Universe does deserve to be a powerhouse of a toy line. It does deserve to still be a relevant toy line for young kids and being introduced to it. It does deserve that because He-Man and the Masters of the Universe still has a great following. It still has a massive following, and people do really still enjoy the original 80s and other stuff that's come within recent years. The toy line and the figure line as well. So we'll see how we go, I guess. But I will definitely, Andy, I'll be asking Sam that when he comes on. He-Man looks amazing. It does. Nah, could not be a faker. Adam/He-Man was not blue. That's true. So Sam shouldn't be too long. He said he was powering up his laptop, so he should be on soon. But yeah, I really do hope He-Man and the or should I say Masters of the Universe, the new film. I really do hope it does well. I will be going to see it. I will definitely be going to see that for sure. It looks just stupid, over the top fun. You know, it really does. Just bear with me 1 second, folks. I'm just going to nip to the toilet and I'll be back in just 1 minute. All right, so just give me 1 sec. I am back. Sorry about that, folks. I needed to go to the little boy's room. Sam's here.
Hello, everyone.
How's it going?
Not bad. Not bad. I hope everybody else is okay. Anyway, so since this is the first live stream of 2026, I'm going to make an announcement. I was actually going to announce this in a separate YouTube video, but I thought, hell, I'll announce it now, and then I'll probably do a separate YouTube video later on. So I'm officially moving out. I put an offer on a house. It has been accepted, and I'm in the process of, paperwork and solicitors and estate agents and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm in the process of actually getting my own place and putting in my property and all that stuff. So if all goes well, fingers crossed, in about 2 months' time, I'll be moving out into my own place, be a homeowner. It feels really weird saying that. It really does. So yeah,
Wow.
almost 3 years of saving. Got the job I've got now, and finally it's all come to fruition. And it generally feels a bit weird saying that, sort of out loud. Yeah, but yeah, I'm officially moving out and be getting into my own property. Thank you, amazing itch, very much. Yeah,
Wow.
it feels so weird to say that out loud. But yeah, I'm officially going to become a homeowner.
Well,
Don't worry, I promise I'll still get to TF Nation. I'll still get to TF Nation this year.
you do know you're gonna get. You do know you're gonna get a set of Mr. Frussell coming round your house with a pitchfork, forcing you, don't you?
Yeah, yeah, probably. But
Well,
yeah, the last few weeks have been insane. I literally, my sister spotted the house. So basically, for a bit of backstory, I've been browsing the housing market for the last sort of 2 or 3 months, sort of just around Christmas time, really, and then literally around New Year's week, my sister messaged me, and she'd seen a property that's literally not far from where my parents' house is, and I thought about it, and I'll be honest, at the time, it was too much. I just thought, nah, I like it. Looks an interesting property, but it's too much. Then about 3 weeks later, the price dropped hugely, and it was well within my budget. So I thought, I'll go have a look. I booked a viewing. I went to have a look. It needs a little bit of TLC, but nothing major. And I just thought it over the weekend after I'd viewed the house, and I just thought, you know what? It's a perfect location. It's the kind of house you've been looking for. It's well within budget now. There's only one other house in the area at the moment that I could realistically afford, and it needs too much work doing on it. So I thought, sod it. So I called up the estate agent on the Monday, gave him the offer. 30 minutes later, I got a phone call being accepted. And then over the last 2 weeks, it's all been sorting everything out. And the last couple of days, it's very much been sending off paperwork to the solicitors and the estate agents and contacting other people. And now I'm just sort of waiting to process everything from there. Yeah, so yeah, that's the big news from me. It's quite exciting, a little bit scary, a little bit anxious, but well, I'll go with the flow. John,
yes.
you can come and live in the garden of the new house. I'll set up a tent for you. You can live there.
I become the garden gnome.
I won't charge you rent. You can just live there for free.
Okay, sweet. Oh well, that's one thing.
Yeah.
Well, firstly, congratulations, and I
Thank
know
you.
obviously we've been talking about it like in behind the scenes sort of thing, off and on, and it's feeling anxious about moving out. It is normal. It is normal to feel like that, I guess. I mean, I've never been in that position, and I hope myself that I will eventually, move out. But
My friend, is your children Bangladesh? Congratulations. True.
you got the telly on, Sam.
Yeah.
You might want to mute it a bit, but it's kind of backlashing onto the audio on my side here.
Anyway, I'm going to leave you here.
Yeah, that's it.
That's better. Sorry about that. No, I'm just saying, well, congratulations about it, and I know obviously we've been talking about it, as I said, off and on, and I mean you've definitely worked your ass off when it comes to getting the money together for it, and it has definitely been that's definitely what I would say. It's definitely been a milestone thing you've wanted to work towards for a long time, getting your own place, your own independence. I mean, a lot of first-time buyers, a lot of first-time people moving out or moving into their first ever property. There's always going to be butterflies. There's always going to be that anxious moment, anxious feeling because you're on your own, sort of thing. But even if you're not on your own, you've got like me, you've got people around you, um, but you got to fend for yourself now. You've got commitments, you've got bills and all that stuff to come through, and you got the old water bill coming in, and this and the other. But no, well done. I mean, the fact that it's come around this quickly, that you found a property, you went for a viewing, or I believe, went to view it, and then put in an offer, it gets accepted. Fantastic. I mean, all power to you, mate. And now I'm really made up for you. You should be proud of yourself.
It's just it's just that big leap right into unknown territory. But yeah, we'll see how things go. I mean, to be fair, I've sent off a load more stuff today. Then I reckon on Monday I'll probably get a load more stuff sent to me. I know within the next couple of days I'm going to have to start making payments to the solicitor but that's I'll sort that out at some point. To be honest, and what I'm planning on doing once the solicitor said basically the solicitor I can't give the solicitor any money until the solicitor's verified basically that my money is my money. So I've done all that. And I hopefully want to get an email probably sometime Monday, I reckon. Yeah, I should be able to start the process. So yeah, well, I'll keep you updated. I mean, it's going to be at least 2 months, assuming there's no hiccups and everything goes smooth. Based off the timeline prediction, I'm probably looking at getting moving in officially end of March, early April. So yeah, I'll keep you all up to date on that.
Yeah, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I mean, yeah, I mean, like I say, you've been working towards this for a long time, and you've definitely worked your ass off to get the money together. I mean, yeah, well done. I mean, it's going to be a process. It is going to be, from the whole thing of finding a property and then putting an offer in. I mean, obviously the offer came through relatively pretty quickly, which is quite rare because obviously you told me that they had a few other offers and they all fell through, so they were pretty. I guess
well,
sale. So
they had 3 other people that were interested, but I think only 2 of them put an offer in. From what the estate agent told me, one of them was rejected. I don't know why, and the second person, for reasons unknown, after a while decided they just weren't interested in the property. I'll be honest. I mean, it's not for a lot of people. It's not a property that they would want, because not that it's in bad condition, it isn't. It's more of a case of it doesn't really have any parking space. But that's not a problem for me. I don't drive. I don't have a car, so that's not an issue. And also the backyard. It's not really got a garden. It's just like a small yard. I think it's small, but it's fine for me. So I think for a lot of people, it doesn't have the basics that they'd want. And on top of that, in the area we live in, where me and John live, there's a lot of want for houses for families, specifically houses where you've got school-age kids. All the houses like that around the area I live in. So like the street where I currently live, in my parents' house is. Houses down that street, I'm not joking. They can be sold within less than a month of them going up. In fact, there was a house just down the bottom of the street, went up for sale last year. 2 weeks, within 2 weeks, it was sold. These houses go ridiculously quick because for the standard, it's where they are. They're 10 minutes from the nearest school. In both directions, you've got your high school and then your junior school, so they're within 10 minutes walking distance. And then, you've got your nice garden, you've got 3 bedrooms, it's everything, a family needs. I'm not looking for that. I'm just looking for a place to live.
Yeah.
And the place I found is 2 bedrooms, which is fine for me because I want to turn one of the bedrooms into we'll use a proper term here, man cave. So basically, I'm going to put all my crap in there. So that's the plan. But yeah, everything worked out. Well, we'll see. It's early days, yeah. Although, to be honest, as long as everything goes through fine in the next week, I don't think there's going to be any problems. It's just a case of getting the initial bit done with the solicitors first, and that's going fine. So yeah, I'll keep you all up to date. Oh, and John, Nosy, my good friend, I recommend this beverage. This is very nice. This is called Milkis. It is a Korean cream soda.
Oh, okay.
And it is sort of like a blueberry flavour. It's really weird, but it's really nice. You can buy these at Tesco. And yeah, they're really nice. I recommend them.
Yeah, I'll definitely give it a try. But yeah, well, like I've said a few times, well done. I mean, obviously, it's difficult for somebody young to get themselves on the housing ladder or get themselves a property. A lot of people are struggling. The fact that you just said a moment ago, like, I mean, where we live, I mean, we are technically, well, we live in a little like village, really, just on the outskirts of Hull, and we are pretty much in a very good area, which right near a pretty decent school, and it's right on a bus route, and it's only like about 15-20 minute journey back and forth, give or take, on the bus into the city centre and other different surrounding areas as well. So it's pretty easy to get around and make your way to where you need to be for work or what have you. But yeah, I mean, it is pretty difficult to land a decent property where we live, especially at a price that you can afford as well. Because where we live, we actually have some incredibly massive houses, like pretty much almost
we do.
Almost like mansions in a way.
Yeah, they are mansions. We Heads Lane. You literally go to Heads Lane. All the houses on Heads Lane are like £1 million plus. It is weird. Hesl's a weird place. You've sort of got this weird split, like top half of Hesel, which is sort of that way for where my parents' house is. It's sort of just 5-10 minutes walk up there. It's basically like a different world. All the houses there are like £1 million plus. And you walk further down, like this area is just, standard outlier, sort of standard working class, middle class, whatever you want to call it, houses, Then the weird thing is the place that I'm fingers crossed will be moving to, that's just off Barrow Lane. And Barrow Lane is a combination of that. There's sort of pricey houses and not so pricey houses down Barrow Lane. Hesel's a weird place for houses. You've got the expensive and the normal, effectively.
And then you've got your council housing as well.
Yeah.
We
do have areas where there's council houses. Some pretty nice council houses, to be fair. And a lot of them are located right opposite the junior school.
Yeah. Yeah, there is. I mean, like I say, where I live down my street, it is there. Obviously, like our house is a private one. It's not a council house. It's actually private rented. It's like an independent person that owns this house. We just rent it off of them. But there is a couple of houses down the street that are council, and then other people actually own them as well. So they've actually bought the house, themselves. There's a bit of a mixture down this street. And then obviously literally just like a 5-minute walk from my street upwards, and then like you just said, down South Lane and Southgate, and you go up towards near Hesel Foreshore area, near the Humber Bridge, and you're starting going into like over £1 million houses within a very short distance from my house. And it is a very weird area. There is, don't get me wrong, there's incredible housing around here, some beautiful houses, but that's what makes it difficult, because obviously when you live in an area that is perfect, say if you've got like a young family, say if you're newly married and you're planning to have a family or start a family or already have children that are quite young and they're about to start nursery school or primary, it is kind of perfect location for that, because you've got the primary school, which is like not far from where we live. That's not far. It's within walking distance or a short drive. And then you've also got the high school as well, because obviously they've incorporated both middle and high and sixth form under one roof now, so it's all incorporated. So it's literally just primary school that's separate, and then once you go to high school or middle school, it's all incorporated into one big. So it's basically kind of like it's gone like it's becoming an academy now, hasn't it? Where we used to go. Yeah, but yeah, it is difficult. It is difficult for a lot of people. I mean, I envy a lot of people that have managed to get their shit together and actually have got their own place. I mean, eventually, hopefully, I can get my own place as well. And move out. I would like to have my own place and actually get a room, an actual room that's big enough for my collection. But yes, Raymond says, I don't want to see John in any position. No, I don't either. That would mentally scare a lot of people. But I have a question for you. I don't know if Andy's still here. He asked me a very, very good question. This one is something you really need to think very hard about, Sam. And if the answer is no, we will hit you with a mallet 77,000 times. And that's going to hurt. And it's not going to be a fake one, it's going to be a real one. This question, wherever it's bloody gone. This one.
Yes, I have.
Oh,
I finished watching Arcane over Christmas, so yeah, I am finished it.
How
I'm all finished with Arcane.
How long did it take you to watch? What was it? A six episode season?
To be honest, I only had 2 episodes left, and I basically just sat on Netflix for probably about well over maybe 2 years. I finally got around to watching the last 2 episodes over Christmas. So, yeah, I have finished Arcane, Andy. I'm all done with Arcane. I loved Arcane, I really do. I wanted to get because I know there's the big, Art of Arcane book, which I keep seeing in my local Waterstones. I really want to get hold of it at some point. But yeah, I really enjoyed Arcane. Really enjoyed it. It's sort of an example of an animated series that is everything we want. You don't see a lot of stories like that these days. The characters were brilliant, the setting was brilliant, the story was brilliant, the music was brilliant. Really enjoyed Arcane. So yeah, I mean, at the moment, I'm watching Chaos Theory, which is obviously the sequel to Count Cretaceous. Really enjoying Chaos Theory. Once I finish Chaos Theory, I need to do season 2 of Call of the Night, which is an anime series. I need to start watching that.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously I'm waiting for part 4 of 1,000 Year Blood War. That's July this year, so not far off, about 7 months away. And then yes, I'm looking forward to that. We've got the Darth Maul series in April, which just looks awesome. Really looking forward to that. We've got Spider-Man, Brand New Day. Looking forward to that. We've got Doomsday coming. So it's going to be good. You're speaking of films.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the cinema today while I was in town after I'd been to the bank and got all the information that I need for the solicitors. And I went to see Return to Silent Hill.
Mhm.
Not a bad film. I mean, I've never played any of the Silent Hill games, but I am familiar with the plots of probably of at least three of them. And I
Yeah.
know roughly the plot of Silent Hill 2, which I think it's 2, which is what Return to Silent Hill, the film, is based off. It was an interesting film, but I will be honest, the 2005 Silent Hill is just brilliant. It's so superior in every way. My only complaints I would say about Return to Silent Hill would be one, the CGI was awful in certain parts, and two, the story was a little bit kind of all over the place. At certain points, it was very confusing as to what was going on. I mean, if you want to go and see an adaptation to a film, if you're a fan of the Silent Hill games, I'd go and see it, but it's not the best adaptation. I still personally stand by the best Silent Hill adaptation is the 2005 film. That's my all-time favourite one.
Mhm.
And then I know there's Silent Hill Revelations, I think it's called, which is the sequel to the 2005 film. And I hate the sequel to the 2005. I hate it. I have to be honest, like 2005 Silent Hill film, I love it. The sequel, which I think came out 2009, I think, I don't like that. And then Return to Silent Hill, it's okay. I get what they're going with it. I kind of understood the story, but ultimately, I just felt like the story could have been better. It could have been fleshed out a lot more, and also it would have made more. It wouldn't have helped. Would have helped if they'd sort of polished the effects a bit.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. The special effects in the latter half of the film are really good. It did like the middle part, not so much. You know, you could tell where the money had been spent and where it hadn't been spent.
Mm. I was thinking of checking it out myself, but yeah, it is a shame, really. I mean, apparently there's meant to be another Resident Evil film this year.
Yeah, it's this year. Yeah, there's not a lot known about that, is there? It seems to be pretty hushed up.
It is pretty hushed up, but apparently, I don't know if it's the same film or if it's something else in development, but apparently, whoever's supposed to be helming that film or directing it or producing it was actually. I think it was last year. At some point last year, it was interviewed and saying that obviously they can't say much, of course, with being in development and that, but apparently this person that's a part of the production of it has said what was it that apparently it's going to be the person that's actually either directing it or whatever is a massive fan of the games, and I want to try and keep it pretty similar to the games. Have a bit more of a faithful adaptation because, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. When it comes to the Resident Evil films, I don't mind the first like two or three of the ones with Mila Jovovich.
Yeah,
And,
Mila Jovovich. Yeah, the sort of the original, like when it comes to the Mila Jovovich films, if I'm going to be completely honest, the there's a few interesting little things about those films that I honestly find quite interesting. So the first thing, aside from the fact that um, the films progressively get worse as they progress,
yeah,
and by the end of it, with the final film, the plot just makes no sense. There's another little factoid. So, bloody hell, hang on, it's been a while since I've even seen that film. Um, give me a second, because I cannot remember the lady's name.
so I'm just gonna pop off and get a drink. For you a minute, all right?
No worries.
Just talk amongst yourselves and whatever.
I'm gonna remember her name. That was it, Michelle Rodriguez. Couldn't remember her name. Michelle Rodriguez. Wait till John comes back, because I actually want to talk about this while John's here. It'll make more of a interesting little talk. So everybody, I'm basically on my own at the moment. My parents are away this weekend. I just have a look. Will it be better with that light on and the other one off? Yeah, that's all right. So yeah, like I said, my parents are away at the moment. They're back tomorrow. Gone to the retirement house, as I like to call it, because they basically bought a new house about 3 years ago now. Like it needed fixing up, so they got it dirt cheap. And as a result, they've spent the last 3 years doing it up. It's practically almost done now. The only last thing being done is the kitchen. And then, they retire next year. And about, a year after that, they're moving out the area. And it is something I do think about sometimes, because basically, and it's just going to be me living in Ezel. I'll be the only one left of the family. My parents will have moved away. My sister doesn't live here anymore. She got her own place 4 years ago, and it's not in Ezel. So yeah, just be me. But we'll see what the future brings, won't we? We will see indeed. Yeah. Future. Always a bit of a scary thought sometimes, isn't it? May seem odd, but one of the things I generally are looking forward to about having my own place is actually being able to sit down and watch stuff on telly. Because literally, I don't own a telly. So my bedroom's too small. There's no really room for a telly. So whenever I watch anything these days, whether it's Netflix, Disney Plus, YouTube, whatever, it's either on my laptop or it's on my main computer. And I just love to be able to sit down like I'm doing now. And I've got a telly on in the background. It's got Netflix on at the moment. And that's just something I want to be able to do, because I just to sit down, chill after work, watch something, on a nice telly. Yeah, yeah. No, that's a little something I'm looking forward to. I mean, I know there's all the bills and all that stuff to pay, but that should be all right. Keep my head on top of it. It'll be all right. We'll see how things go. Right. Anyway, Nosy, you're back. I want to talk to you about something.
Oh dear.
Right. So, Resident Evil with Mila Jovovich. So, the lady I kept thinking about was Michelle Rodriguez.
Yes.
Because, she's in the first film.
I think she's in a couple of them.
I think she's in 3 of them, I think. But here's an interesting little factoid. I don't know how true this is, but it's been kind of on the rumour mill for quite a few years. So, the original rumour for the original Resident Evil film, is that Michelle Rodriguez was originally meant to play the main character. And Mila Jovovich was only going to be in the film for a very short amount of time. However, she was going to be killed off quite early on in the film. Just the story goes that when the rights to the directory rights were to her husband, he changed everything and put Milena Jovovich as the main lead. And Michelle Rodriguez nearly sued the studio, and the only reason she didn't was because they effectively agreed to give her a larger role, because originally they were going to kill her off very early. Instead, she's in the entire film, and she doesn't turn into a zombie until the very end, and then gets shot. She's in the entire film. And then the reason why Michelle Jovovich is in every single Resident Evil film is because her husband was directing or producing or even writing. And almost every film Mila Jovovich has been in the last sort of 20 years has been a project her husband's been involved in. And she's always been the main character. There's a lot of talk about the fact that in a lot of ways he's responsible for like a good chunk of her career in the film industry, because a lot of the roles she's only got because her husband's been in charge of the production. Or at least that is the rumor, and you can confirm that her husband has been producing, directing a lot of her films where she's in them, because he's got to look him up and it's listed there. But yeah, the rumor is that he's basically responsible for a good chunk of her career.
That does actually make sense, actually, because it's Wes Anderson in it.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because that makes sense, because obviously Wes Anderson, obviously their husband and wife. So yeah, anything where a majority of stuff where Wes Anderson is either involved with, either as a producer. I mean, obviously he was the director for all of the Resident Evil films. I don't know if he directed all of them or if he was producer of some of them.
He didn't direct all of them. No, he directed probably 50 or 60% of them, but he was producer on all of them, and I think he was the writer on at least 3 of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems funny, that, really. I mean, I could see that being true, pushing his wife into the spotlight a bit. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah. I mean, there's a film that came out last year with Milena Jovovich in it that sailed through the cinemas. I don't think anybody ever went to see it, and it was on streaming within less than a month. I mean, I've got to admit, I like Mila Jovovich as an actress, especially a lot of the earlier stuff she did.
Yeah.
Like Fifth Element, that's a really good film.
Yeah.
But you kind of get the feeling that she wouldn't have the career she has if she wasn't married to Wes Anderson.
That's true. I mean, the Resident Evil films, whether you like them or not, you can't deny it definitely opened a few opportunities for her. It got people, she became a recognised figure because of the films.
Yeah, I mean, the Resident Evil films gave her a huge boost.
Yeah.
If you sort of look at her career, sort of around the time over the roughly 10-ish years that the Resident Evil films are coming out, she was getting other roles. And then after the last Resident Evil film, I haven't seen her in anything in quite a while. And then the last film she was in last year was another Wes Anderson film.
Yeah. Yeah, she does go pretty quiet. I mean, obviously, I know she's. I think her daughter's an actress as well. I think she was in something either a year or two ago, or she's kind of like starting an acting career as well. So apparently, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I think she was focusing a bit on personal life as well, and I think a lot of the negative reception towards the Resident Evil films I think she kind of like moved away a little bit, and when the Wes Anderson's kind of vision, or I should have said that version with Mila Jovovich, when they got cancelled after the last one because they weren't doing very well and they weren't earning much at the box office anymore, They decided. I think obviously they went with what is it? Welcome to Raccoon City, weren't they? Which was the recent one, Resident Evil film. Was it Welcome to Raccoon City or something? It was called.
Yeah, that I've never seen that, so I can't really comment on it.
You're not missing much. You're not missing much. Literally, they tried to make it a bit more like the games. Um, they got the casting wrong for they got the castings wrong for a lot of the characters, and the acting. It was much more of an independent. It was more of a low budget type of film. It wasn't a real high budget. They had one of the, what do you call them, the liquors. They had I think they had the liquors in it, which was actually probably the best bit of the film. I've seen the liquors actually in the film. Um, but it was relatively quite a real simple story. Obviously, it never got a sequel. It opened up for possible. They actually wanted to make more of them. That was kind of the start, and they were going to do at least a trilogy, but or at least make a couple of them. But it didn't do very well, and I think it got a limited release in America, and it never. I don't think it came out in UK cinemas. I don't remember it being in the UK cinemas. And it came out pretty much straight to DVD or straight to demand or streaming. And I managed to check it out. I did check it out, I think, and to be honest, you're not missing much. It's trying to be faithful, but they actually missed the mark when it came to the casting choices because they actually did have a character that was based off the main guy. What's his name? Uh, oh, it was the main guy in the Resident Evil games. Forgot his name.
No, there's a few, mate. I know you're on about Leon.
Leon, yes, thank you. Yeah, they actually had Leon in that film, but the casting was totally off. It looked nothing like Leon. It was a different nationality totally as well. I mean, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way at all. I'm not saying it in that way, but he's a white character, but they actually had somebody that was technically nearly, it was a black character. It wasn't white, if you get my right meaning. What I'm trying to say there. And he just came over. They made him a little bit too like more of a jokey character. He wasn't very serious because that character, obviously, he's. I mean, obviously, they had. I think they had Claire in there as well. So it was basically him and Claire and somebody else. They tried to make it as faithful to like the original Resident Evil game, the very first one, where with those characters in it, like the young Wesker before he goes evil, and all that, and they tried to kind of it's meant to be like an adaptation of the first game, but they screwed it up when it came to the casting choices, and the acting was terrible. But apparently, like I said a moment ago, there is meant to be it is mentioned of a 2026 release. I think it says. I think I looked it up. I think it's about May time. But if it's May and there's absolutely no information at all about it, not even a teaser trailer or anything,
I'd expect something to come out within the next teaser trailer wise within the next month. Then, if it's due out in May, you'd expect a trailer to be out within the next 4 or 5 weeks.
All right. Raymond says Mila Jovovich and Paul Anderson weren't married yet when they made the first Resident Evil movie. The movie was from 2002, and they weren't married until 2009. Oh, okay.
I didn't know that.
But yeah. Well, like I say, I mean, I don't know why they're having problems with making a decent adaptation. I mean, apparently that it's what's really difficult is finding somebody that actually really fits the part for Leon. Because
Yeah.
Leon, even though it should be relatively quite straightforward to find a white actor with relatively long blonde hair, because that's all he is. But for some reason, when it comes to the casting choices for Leon, they really screw up with Leon. I mean, they did have Leon in some of the later Resident Evil films with Mila Jovovich in there. They did attempt to bring Leon in, but he got killed off, and it was like a bit of a waste. He ended up getting killed off in the same film, and he does. Leon is a massive fan favorite because obviously he's in the original games, and he's in the original the first 3 or 4 games or something, and then it moves on to Claire. And
I don't think he's in the first game.
I think he's in.
I'm sure it's the second game where his character's introduced.
Okay, it might have been then. It might have been the second game. I'm not massively versed in it. I never really played them back in the day.
I've played a few of the games. If I'm not mistaken, I believe the way it's supposed to work within the timeline, I think the first Resident Evil game, the events of that game where you're in the mansion, I think that's taking place at the same time as Resident Evil 2, which is obviously in Raccoon City. I think both those games are meant to be taking place at the same time, I think. I know some of the Resident Evil games. I know there's ones which are canon and like are canonically attached to each other. I know ones which are single, sort of not attached. I've never fully understood how the timeline works, though, because there's that many games, so I've no idea where they all fit in. The only Resident Evil game I only own 2. Resident Evil 8, I think it is. The first person one. And then also the remaster of Resident Evil 2. I think that's the 2 games I own. So my knowledge is pretty basic.
Yeah. I'm just looking up the film, actually, seeing if there's any info on it. Right, let me share the screen and you can see it what I'm reading. Give me 1 second. I know everyone's seeing that all right?
Yeah.
Well, let me zoom in a bit so you can see the text better. There we go.
Well, it's like work. It's like we're having our team meetings. Although we don't, go on Wikipedia and look up stuff like this.
Yeah. All right, let me go back. All right, it says here, Resident Evil is an upcoming American horror film directed by Zach Kreger, who co-wrote the screenplay for with Shay Hatton and stars Austin Abrams, Paul Walter Hauser, Zach Cherry, and Callie Reese. Produced by Columbia Pictures and PlayStation Productions. It's actually in association with PlayStation Productions as well. With Constantine Films and Vertigo Entertainment. It is distributed by Sony Pictures Releasing, and so it says it serves as the second reboot of Resident Evil film series. The film is the 8th installment of the overall in the series, which is based on the video game series by Capcom. Plans for another Resident Evil reboot began in early 2002 following the critical commercial failure of Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City in 2021. The cancellation of the Netflix television series as well, which was I've never even watched that, so I can't even say. The series' future had been in discussion since former Constantine chairman Martin Moskowitz, I think I pronounced that, revealed the producers had plans for future installments on a new television series. By 2023, several outlets reported a grant of $2 million Canadian from the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation for the production of the film titled Resident Evil: The Umbrella Chronicles. While Kreger was eyed by Sony in mid-2024, pre-production officially began in January 2025, with Constantine co-producing a new film alongside PlayStation, while Kreger would direct and co-write the script with Hatton. 4 studios, including Warner Brothers Pictures and Netflix, bid for distribution rights, with Columbia Pictures winning in March that same year. Filming had begun in October 2025 in Prague. Resident Evil is scheduled to be released on September 18th, 2026 by Sony Pictures releasing. So, yeah. Okay, so we've got Austin Adams, who's playing. It says as Brian, a medical courier. So we've got Paul Walter Hauser. So right, so let's get the picture. You can see that picture now. So he's playing a medical courier. So I don't know. So I'm wondering if they're going away with, because these characters are only named. I mean, you got Paul Walter Hauser, who was a professional actor and professional wrestler. Yeah, so they got him, and then someone called John O. Wilson. What else can we say? It says Robbie Amell stated he hoped to return as Chris in a sequel that included his boulder punching scene in Resident Evil 5. Tom Hopper confirmed Sony and Christine Film were pleased with the film's success on video on demand and said he hoped to play Albert Wesker again. Yeah, there's not much really saying about it. It's obviously apparently it was started filming in October of last year in Prague. There is a director and there is a writer and everything appointed to it. There's a couple people casting choices mentioned, but yeah, not much is really saying about it. Really, I mean, none of these names that I mentioned here look like the characters that. I mean, this is a professional boxer and actress, who's Callie Reese. I don't know, it's a bit of a strange one, isn't it? Certainly a bit of a strange one.
Well, I'm sure we'll get some info within the next few weeks, because I mean, it's not far off from here.
I wonder if there's anything else we can go on. I mean, Wiki, you've got to be a bit careful with, haven't you? Let's have a look. Yeah, IMDb doesn't really say anything either. It says something about. This might have been what I was reverting to earlier. There is actually on IMDb. There is actually an interview. Let me bring it up again. Is it coming up? No, it isn't. Give me 1 second. Let me fix this. Look how quick I am. I am efficient. There we go. Right. So it says in an interview with the Hollywood Reporter, Zach Cregger clarified that he isn't interested in directing scripts written by other people, as he wants to be personally involved with the writing process and everything he works on. That doesn't say anything about too much. What does it say? When asked about Resident Evil movie, Cregger said, "That's an original screenplay, by the way. It's a weird story. I wrote it, and I love the story. It has nothing to do with any of the other Resident Evil movies. If I do my job, it will feel fresh and edgy and weird." Okay, I have Resident Evil, and then I have a sci-fi movie right after. That's original. When I have another one that then I have another one that I am working on that feels like Nightcrawler. But all of those are original. So that's all he's said recently, as of last year. So that says absolutely nothing, does it? So there is definitely one. It's looking like a September release, and I don't know whether it's going to be a theatrical release or if they're going to do it on demand. Because it's going to be released by Sony. Sony apparently, or whatever, won the rights for distribution over Netflix. Oh, by the way, here's an interesting discussion, because obviously me and Andy have been talking about anime. Have you seen, Sam, the news of Netflix and Mappa, the studio Mappa in Japan, have signed a exclusive deal with Netflix to basically stream everything that they produce on Netflix.
No, I did not know that.
It has the anime community pretty much split. A lot of people are not happy with Netflix, and a lot of people are not very happy with Mappa either. And I just wanted to bring that.
Yeah,
Has anybody else in the chat heard
but
about this? What do people think of this?
within the ever-growing world with streaming platforms, it's to be expected. I mean, streaming really is, in a lot of ways, the new entertainment hub now. I mean, more and more people sign up to streaming platforms. Hell, YouTube is the number one source of free entertainment. Then you've got all your paid for stuff like Netflix and Disney Plus.
Yeah.
But then there's loads of other platforms, and they're making deals all the time. And the thing is, you've got to kind of be aware that Netflix is one of the biggest streaming platforms on the planet. The more deals they make, the more people want to subscribe, the more content they can do. And, to be honest, why do you think the BBC's a dying thing? The BBC is dying. It's been dying now for like 20 years. And they've never really adapted to modern times.
Mm.
And the BBC's got like another 2 years before the end of the Royal Charter. And it's heavily looking like the government might just force the BBC to go subscription based, or possibly advertisement based. But the license fee is going to be kicked because the more and more people every year are not paying it. In fact, it's now estimated that the BBC is losing about £1 billion a year because of people who just simply don't want to pay the license fee anymore because they're looking elsewhere for entertainment. I mean, I don't really watch anything on terrestrial telly anymore. I mean, everything I watch is on Netflix or YouTube or Disney Plus. I don't really watch normal telly. I mean, okay. So as a result, when I get round to when I finally move out, I'm not going to bother with a TV license. I don't see the point of paying it. I'm not going to be watching terrestrial telly. I'm just going to be watching all my streaming platforms. I'm going to watch something on DVD wise. I've got plenty of DVDs. It just sort of feels like, to me anyway, the terrestrial telly's long gone. It's dying, and the BBC is a dying thing. It's been dying slowly for 20 years.
Mm.
I noticed Andy says the only thing you watch on BBC is Doctor Who. I think Doctor Who is one of the few shows on the BBC that is still watched. Strictly Come Dancing at one point was the BBC's biggest show. That's been on for 20 years, and it's basically been dying for the last 6 or 7 years. It's been losing viewers at a very heavy rate.
Yeah.
Then you've got your newer generations, the ones that are growing up now. They've got different tastes, different interests. A lot of the younger generation, like teenagers, a lot of them, they're just watching stuff on Netflix. They're Netflix or the Disney Plus or YouTube. Entertainment wise, it's all streaming platforms now. And the thing is, a streaming platform can cater to a much larger global audience because, putting aside original content, they can pay any number of studios for them to put anything on. So, then original content a lot of the time is better than any of the original content that's currently on the BBC. So really, it entirely depends on that. But the narrative shifted a lot. And I think BBC, in order to survive, they need to shift the narrative. They need to really look at what the current generation like. What do the younger generation like? What are they watching? You need to start looking at things like that. Like Strictly Come Dancing, just as an example. I mean, yeah, people watch it, people like it, fair enough. But then I doubt there's many teenagers and young people in the 20s that like to watch it. It's, you sort of need to realise how the world's changed, right? I mean, I want to use something here as an example, right? K-pop Demon Hunters. That is literally the #1 film in the world. It's the most watched film on Netflix, the most listened to soundtrack of any film, as far as I'm aware. It's literally gained a global fan base. It is a huge, huge film.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, give it 4 or 5 years, Disney's going to try and rip it off. They'll do some sort of film that basically rips off K-pop Demon Hunters. But my argument is that, like, the BBC would never come up with something like that. The chance of the BBC creating an original film or an original series that becomes a global pop culture sensation just wouldn't happen. I mean, Doctor Who's a good example. That is probably definitely a global pop culture sensation. But, I have to be honest, I don't think Doctor Who's as good as it used to be. I mean, I haven't watched Doctor Who in a long time. The last Doctor Who I watched was the first season of Jodie Whittaker, and that was it. I've not watched anything since, so I really can't comment on it. But in a lot of ways, the BBC, I just don't think they're tuned in enough to realise what modern audiences want. Interests have changed. As I said, the narrative has shifted. So as a result now, you need to start looking at. You need to look at what streaming platforms are telling you. What's the big thing on the streaming platforms? What are people talking about? Like at work, in the office, right? 90% of what people talk about or what they're watching at the moment, if you ask anybody, 99% of the time, I'd say it's on Netflix. It's incredibly rare for someone to be watching something on, like, terrestrial telly, unless maybe it's something on Sky. But even Sky's streaming now. Now TV is basically Sky. So really, the narrative of what are you watching on television is more now about what are you watching on screen or what are you watching on Netflix at the moment. That's the real question. So the thing is, the BBC, they won't die, but I think the license fee is going to get scrapped because that's just completely out of touch with the modern world. And I think they'll either be doing advertisements or they'll have to be doing it as a subscription service. But ultimately, apart from that, the BBC need to start realising that they need to start looking at what people like to watch. Because if you really look into that and you create something of interest, something that's really going to capture people, then you've got a plan. Like, people like good stories, they like good characters, they like to be gripped, they like to be entertained. And, like, I'm going to be honest, like, again, no offense to anybody that watches that's like a Strictly Come Dancing fan. Fair enough, like what you like. But how many people would honestly would sit down and find a show like Strictly Come Dancing entertaining? I mean, I wouldn't, but that's me. But I wouldn't find it entertaining. Like, nobody in my family watches it. My mum and dad, they don't watch stuff like that. My sister doesn't watch stuff like that. Like, everything my sister watches is online. It's all Netflix and Disney Plus and all that stuff. Same with me. And I just sort of do wonder if the BBC are ever going to adapt, or they're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. So sorry, man, I went on a tangent there. Sorry, but yeah. So anyway, that's my part.
But I completely agree with what you're saying about. I mean, normal telly really is boring. I mean, don't get me wrong, there has been a couple of things that's been on TV that I did like. I mean, the only drama I can think of, again, is BBC, is Line of Duty. That series was probably one of their best dramas that came out, original dramas, and it was probably one of the. I'm not a big fan of these whodunits. I'm not a big fan of crime dramas because I find every single crime drama is exactly the goddamn same, just a different cast and a different name to it. It's exactly the same when it comes to the mechanics and how it's been made. Exactly the goddamn same. And I found a lot of them, like Midsummer Murders and all that kind of stuff, I found it incredibly boring. There's only one other crime drama I do like as well, but it's actually a Canadian remake of a Swedish drama called The Killing. That's really good. But the series I'm talking about, obviously, Line of Duty, that's a BBC series, and I recommend that to anybody that hasn't seen it. It is actually coming back this year as well. They're finally making another series of that, which I'm very happy about. But yeah, Line of Duty is the only series on BBC that me and my dad both really enjoyed. When it comes to majority of TV, it is absolutely terrible. I mean, I mean, obviously, each to their own. I'm not a big fan of Doctor Who. I used to like Doctor Who. I was a big fan of Doctor Who when David Tennant was about. When David Tennant played the Doctor, I was a big fan of him. I did like Matt Smith as well, and Robert Capaldi. Unfortunately, the writing really wasn't there for him. Unfortunately, he didn't have the writing support for him. Jodie Whittaker, I only watched a little bit of her. I thought she was all right. I thought she came over well. I thought she was a decent Doctor. However, again, she didn't really have the structure and the writing again for her. It's one of those things. I never watched anything with the new guy who recently left, or is apparently leaving. Forgotten his name. But yeah, the guy that when Jodie Whittaker left, he took over. I haven't watched anything with him yet. But I found with Doctor Who is that the rehashing old storylines that I've seen before, like with Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant, and I'm like, I've seen this before. I'm sure I've seen this before. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do love the Daleks and I love the Cybermen. They're my favourites of the monsters. But this is Doctor Who. It's a vast universe. Can't there be a bit more open and create a brand new creature? And I know
that's the thing, like,
you know.
I don't know.
No. I was just saying, like, they have done that a little bit. They have kind of created like original creatures here and there. But I think one of the best newer ones that they did was the Weeping Angels. Is it?
Yeah. The very first episode, it was David Tennant episode one. It's called Blink, and that is a fantastic. It's actually pretty creepy as well. And it's a really, really good episode. The problem with the Weeping Angels, they overused them. By the end of it, the Weeping Angels just weren't even a scary villain anymore. They should have only have done that one episode with the Weeping Angels, and that's it. Because that episode is really good. And then, as I said, they just kept on rehashing them.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where it just didn't really feel particularly interesting anymore.
Yeah, there's just no originality with the writing. I mean, I don't know what it is. I mean, I do like my sci-fi. I do like my sci-fi stuff and everything, but I just think Doctor Who's just become real. I just think Doctor Who's become stale. The writing, I just don't think that. Obviously, getting some backlash now. I just think we're getting when it comes to the writing side. There's some great actors that are portraying the Doctor. We've had some really great actors that have done a great job at being the Doctor. And ever since they rebooted it with Christopher Eccleston, they brought Christopher Eccleston and they rebooted it for a new generation. And obviously, and all that. And, I was a big fan with Christopher. I really liked Christopher Eccleston. I thought he did a really good job as Doctor. And unfortunately, he only lasted one series. We're not going to go into the specifics as to why with that because we'll be here all day. But David Tennant took over, and I thought he did a great job. Again with Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi, some great actors. But I think I would say from about roughly halfway through Matt Smith is when things changed and the writing became sloppy because Matt Smith was pretty much it was David Tennant's Doctor, but reincarnated. It was the similar kind of energy, and I thought he really portrayed the character well, like after David Tennant. But yeah, I thought the writing for him really sort of like I thought about like halfway through, or like like after a couple series or whatever, I think the writing started to go down, and then everyone that's taken over from Matt Smith has just keeps going down in quality with the writing. I mean, I could be wrong with what I'm saying. I mean, a lot of like die-hard Doctor Who fans probably won't agree with me, but I do know a lot of fans of Doctor Who are not happy with a lot of the writing and some of the stories.
Yeah, the writing overall was. It's actually, I mean, Peter Capaldi complained quite a lot about the writing, especially in like the later series he was in, because he really got quite restricted. It the problem was like there's one of the things that absolutely annoyed the hell out of me with Peter Capaldi's Doctor, not anything to do with the actor or anything to do with him in general, but it was more to do with the writing towards the end. And one of the things that just annoyed me a lot was how for like the last season of Capaldi, they kept basically screaming at the viewer, the next Doctor will be a woman. And it wasn't really kept a secret. It was practically, as I said, they were practically waving signs in every episode of the last season of Capaldi, more or less confirming that the next Doctor's a woman. And I mean, I wasn't at all bothered by the fact that Doctor regenerated into a woman, because they practically confirmed years ago that a Time Lord can regenerate into a man or a woman. There's no set rule that it's always a man. It's just how the Doctor Who works effectively. And then the Doctor generating into the first female Doctor, the first female Doctor on screen, effectively. Well, technically not the first female Time Lord, but the first time a Doctor had become a woman. Yeah, it was a big thing, but it would have been even more of a big thing if they'd have really kept it under wraps, because they didn't really bother to keep it under wraps.
No.
And as a result, it wasn't really a surprise to anybody when he regenerated into Jodie Whittaker, because everybody kind of knew it was coming.
Yeah.
If he'd done more to actually keep it hidden and not drop so many hints, it would have been a bit more interesting. And then Jodie Whittaker's Doctor suffered terribly from bad writing. I'll be honest, I said I only watched the first season of Jodie Whittaker, so I can't comment on any of the other stuff, any of the other Jodie Whittaker Doctor Who seasons, because I never watched any of them.
Yeah, it is a shame, really, because I mean, like I say, Doctor Who's one of those things. It's a British it's a British thing. Part of like when it comes to British entertainment, it's massive in America as well, because obviously it's whenever Doctor Who's on, it's streamed on BBC Atlantic. So it's like it's become a real like phenomenon even in America as well, because obviously in America they didn't really know anything about Doctor Who. And then I think they started kind of broadcasting it. I think was it with Matt Smith? I can't remember. It was either Matt Smith or Capaldi or whatever. I don't know. But they started broadcasting it over in America, or introducing it to American audiences. And so it did become. It is very popular still. It has a very faithful fan base, which is great. But I just don't think the fans have been treated with respect in the way that the writing is like very bad. And I think the writers' room, or the writers, yeah, they might be good at what they're doing. I think there's more at play. I think it's the bigwigs again. I think it's the executives at BBC that are kind of maybe forcing the writers to implement certain things. I'm not going to go into political things here because I don't want to upset anybody.
No.
But
it's possible. When it comes to writing in general, like I said, I don't want to get political or anything, but I mean, at the current moment, I'd be more interested in, because I mean, like at the moment, nobody knows what the future is for Doctor Who. Andy stated he found Whittaker's series to be too political. It's like it was. I mean, again, I only watched season 1 of Jodie Whittaker, but I found it to be too political that first season, which is why I stopped watching it altogether. And I know at the moment, Doctor Who as a show is really on the rocks. Nobody really knows what's happening with it. I mean, I know that it's meant to come back Christmas of this year, but nobody knows who the Doctor will be. Because I know we saw, I forget his name. I never watched any of the recent stuff, but I know the new guy he regenerated into bloody hell, what's her name? She played
Billy Piper.
Rose Tyler.
Billy Piper.
Christopher Eccleston.
Billy Piper.
That's it. Thank you, Billy Piper. Because he obviously regenerates into Billy Piper, but then Billy Piper's actually admitted that she doesn't even know she is the Doctor, because apparently originally the regeneration you weren't going to see who he regenerate into, and then Jodie Whittaker was sorry, not Jodie Whittaker, but you know what I mean. Billy Piper was literally brought in last minute, 2 weeks before the episode aired, and he just did a really quick regeneration scene. I believe she said she honestly doesn't know she's even going to be the Doctor. So we could have this whole thing of her regenerating into Billy Piper, and that's not the case. So no one knows.
Apparently, even though Billy Piper is absolutely loved as one of his companions, of David Tennant's companion, she was a great character, and but I haven't watched any of his series. The guy who took over from Jodie Whittaker, I've forgotten his name, but apparently he left as well. I don't think he was happy with things going on behind the scenes as well, and I think he left. I think he only did 2 seasons. I think he only did maybe 1 or 2 series, and I think he's left as well.
Yeah, he didn't do much. It's interesting just how many of the actors for Doctor Who have played the Doctor in the last sort of 6, 7 years have left or have said they were never happy with the writing, which does say a lot.
Christopher Eccleston said it perfectly. He actually said it at a convention in front of cameras rolling. What is true, he said. He actually named people. I can't remember who the names were, but there are people behind the scenes at BBC and the people that write, some of the writers and producers and stuff that work on Doctor Who. Someone asked him a simple question of, would you like to come back and play the Doctor again? And he basically said, no. Get rid of this person, get rid of this person, get rid of this person, and get rid of this person, and then maybe yes. That's what he said bluntly.
Get rid of everybody, basically.
That's fantastic. One of those people is one of the head writers. What's the writer for the series now? I forgot his name.
I don't know, mate. So I'm not really following it, so I don't know.
Yeah, the guy who was technically kind of like the showrunner / head writer. Yeah, he was, I think, one of them that was named. Thank you. That's the guy who Nakti Gatwa. He's the guy who took over from Jodie Whittaker. That's it. I couldn't remember his name. Yeah, it's a bit of a. I mean, yeah, it's a bit of a shit show, really. It's a bit of a shit show. Everything with Doctor Who. I don't know why everything has to be political these days. And again, I'm not going to go into that, but I don't know why we just can't have good stories, good writing, and just stick to and just be creative. You know what happens to creative writing? That seems to be a dying art now. You know what I mean? When it comes to like creating original stories and coming up with different aliens and different this and the other.
I wouldn't say it's a dead thing. It's more like creative writing in sort of TV and film, especially TV, sort of really only seems to exist on your streaming platforms, because there's more interest in being creative and experimental on streaming platforms than there is on terrestrial telly. Like, I feel like the BBC just going back on this tangent again.
Yeah.
But I do feel like the BBC don't really have much interest in being creative. They want to try and find a formula and just stick to it, and that's the biggest problem. It's like it's like, again, to go back, Strictly Come Dancing. That's 20 years that's been on the BBC. 20 years, and all it is a dance competition. That's it. There's nothing to it other than it's just a dance competition. And I know there's been some stuff come out about it in the last sort of year and a bit about the conduct and behaviour of some of the guests and stars on it. But putting all that aside, because that's something completely different that that I'm not really talking about.
Mhm.
When you've got a series like Strictly Come Dancing, that is basically a very it's just a dance competition. That's it. I mean, I've never really seen the appeal. I appreciate, so I mean, but there are people that do like that kind of thing, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
But as an entire collective audience of, just say, the UK, for just as the UK, not going global, because obviously the BBC is available in Europe and America, but putting that aside and just sticking with the UK, we've got a population of, I believe, somewhere around 75 million, I think. And so if we look at this from a more interesting point of view, right? So if we just look this up, right? So UK population, right? We'll do it this way. So UK population is estimated to be around about 70 million. Okay. So if we go with 70 million people as an estimate, I'd probably say it's more like 75. But, so say we do an estimate. We estimate the UK population being 70 million people, right? So if we look at UK population as TV license, right? So roughly how many people in the UK are paying a TV license? Right. So it's estimated approximately 25 million people in the UK are paying the TV license. And we're looking at an increase of 12.5% of people so basically roughly 25 is estimated 25 million people in the UK are paying a TV license. That's 25 million out of, as I say, roughly 75 million people. Now, I know taking out anybody who isn't living in their own house, let's say, which I know we can't really give a direct number on that, but 25 million out of roughly 75 million means we're looking at least 55 million people that aren't paying a TV license. Let's say roughly, if we go by halves, then roughly, let's say, roughly 25 million people in the UK are not paying a TV license. That's a rough guess. And then the rate of people who are not paying a TV license is rising by roughly 12.5% within the average 12-month span of a year. So it's dropping hugely by roughly 12.5% in a year, right? So keep in mind, roughly 25 million people in the UK are paying for a TV license, right?
Yeah.
Now, if we look at Netflix, rough estimation, approximately, rounding it off, 18 million people are believed to be subscribing to Netflix in the UK. And we're looking at estimated 60% of UK homes are paying for Netflix. With subscriber growth as well, within the last 12 months, there's been an increase of 17 million people subscribing to Netflix within the UK. It is the most subscribed streaming platform. And then in late 2024, Netflix's audience exceeded that of BBC One. So basically, more people are watching Netflix than the BBC in the UK.
Mm.
So again, that kind of gives us a good example of the difference between terrestrial and streaming platforms.
Yeah.
The future very much is streaming. I don't think terrestrial telly is going to go anywhere, but
No,
the BBC needs to realise that unless they start really looking into new levels of entertainment that people want to watch, and also get rid of the TV license, no subscription. That's the best bet. But yeah, as I say, there's your rough statistics.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, terrestrial TV or normal TV is still popular. It's mostly the older demographic that don't really understand technology that are going to stick to regular telly. They're not really gonna. It's gonna be their nephews or their grandchildren that are gonna probably introduce them to like Netflix or something. I know my granddad. He actually piggybacked on my cousin's Netflix. Obviously, he can't do that anymore, but back when my granddad was still alive, my I think my cousin like sort of like piggybacked him onto her account, and and so he used to kind of utilize Netflix and stuff like that. But my grandparents were very much of that generation where they didn't understand it. Literally, like my granddad had a Facebook page. Me and my cousin had to set that up for him. My dad, my cousin, and me had to help him when he got his laptop and his tablets and his tablet he got and anything computer wise. I mean that comes to be expected. The older demographic aren't used to technology, and when it comes to someone like myself, I'm self-taught with like using a computer. I literally just picked it up when literally I'm gonna make myself very old now because, but and I'm gonna make other people in the comments even older, but back when we got our very first computer, I was about 10 years old when I got my first computer with Windows 98 on it. And when we got our very first computer in the house, literally my dad had all the big booklets and everything. He was like reading up on it, how to do this, how to do that. And literally one day, I was a 10-year-old kid. Right? And my dad was in the room, and my dad let me have a play on the computer. Said, have a play on it and see how you go. And I opened this, opened that, and my dad was like scratching his head, just stood there next to me like, what did you just do? I said, oh, I'm installing a game. I'm installing a game. And like, how did you do that? I just did this, did that. Really easy. And then I did this and I did that. My dad's scratching his head like, it's taken me about 3 hours just to understand how to turn it on. So for like 10-year-old kid just literally showing my dad how to do it, and I never even knew what a computer was until we got one in. But that makes that obviously I was a younger generation, and obviously I've lost it. As I've gotten older, I've lost that advantage of being tech savvy because I don't go into it as much, especially computers. I've not gone into computer stuff for a long time. I don't deal with computer technology or software or hardware as much. I'm more of obviously when it comes to gaming, I'm a console gamer, always have been, and I've sort of lost that edge, and I've kind of like not really been in that side of things, and that part of my brain is still. I need to kind of like rework it and remember how things work. I mean, I can still install stuff. That's not a problem, and I can do like basic stuff like Word and that kind of stuff is no problem for me. I mean, literally, I remember IT at school. I was one of the best ones in the bloody class because literally, like, like obviously IT course at school. Like, I did an IT course as like an extra thing at school, and there was at one point the teacher came up to me and went, everyone else was struggling how to do some of the stuff on certain stuff, and I remember the teacher just stood behind me at one point and he went, how did you learn how to do all this? This is really, really good. This is advanced stuff, this. And I was like, advanced? I've been doing this for years. This is piss normal. I was like using Excel and everything. I was like, Jesus Christ. I mean, Excel.
The thing is, what at school with IT, I mean, IT at school, especially when we were doing it, was designed around the concept of using a computer for the first time. Anybody like us that had basic knowledge was seen as being advanced. And it's sort of like, well, what you're doing is just basic stuff, as you say, it's nothing major.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we're at a point now where IT need is growing.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem is schools. They don't really know where to go with IT. But a few years ago, I know schools are looking at coding, like trying to teach kids coding. But to do that, you need to know how to do it in the first place. And you've got to have the kit to do it.
Yeah.
So schools stop doing that. If anything, like online stuff now, I would say they need to focus more on making people, like making that younger generation, making them aware of like online scams, how to recognize online scams, how to recognize potential AI fakes, hell, even how to recognize when to use the phrase influencers, recognize when an influencer's lying, because there's plenty of influencers who like to go around show homes and expensive Airbnbs and try and make out that they own the place when they actually don't. So, there's stuff like that. So it's just IT's changing. Like IT now, like computers now, are fundamentally the single most important thing. Because whether or not people choose to admit it, we are now very much in the early years of a digital age. Yep. Like, we've all got one of these. And these stopped being phones in like 2007 when the iPhone was released. Yep. We are all now carrying computers with us. This can call people and I can text people, but I can also send emails, I can look up documents, I can online chats, I can visit websites and YouTube and Netflix and all that. This stopped being a phone when the iPhone became a thing and it became a computer. So every single person now carries a pocket computer on them. Yeah. And as a result of smartphone technology in the last 20 years, the internet's become truly mobile, and as a result now, online banking's becoming a huge thing. As a result of online banking, banks are shutting down branches in less major areas. Like where we live, there's no banks anymore. We've got a banking hub, which is pretty useless. If we want to go to the bank, we have to go into the city centre. We've got to get a bus to go to the city centre because there's no banks in Hessel anymore. Yeah. Who knows how in the next 10 years technology is going to change? Right now, the next generation, everyone's like 7 or 8 years old. They're growing up with this. We didn't grow up with this. When we were all kids, there was no smartphones, there was no social media, there was no YouTube, there was no TikTok. We go back to the 90s. Laptops were very much new, and then the way it is now is we've not grown up with this. We've sort of adapted to it because when the smartphone was first released, most of us would have been 18. Yeah. Sorry to the people on the chat who are older, but the point is, me and John, we were like 18. So, 17, 18 when the iPhone was released. Yeah. So the point is, we've not really grown up with this. We've just sort of adapted to it like the older generations have. But everybody now that it's, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, that is growing up, are growing up with this.
Yeah.
Their lives are infinitely affected by smart technology. They've got the internet in their pocket. They've got social media in their pocket. They've got all sorts of stuff that they can be exposed to. And I know right now we've got the government looking at ways to try and ban under 16s from social media, which in my opinion is a complete waste of time. It'll be extremely difficult to do, I personally believe. But in a lot of ways, it's too late. This has taken over a lot of generational lives. And what's becoming very clear is this.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is kids now think everything's touchscreen. I literally the other day, when I was in town, I was walking through St. Stephen's shopping centre, and in St. Stephen's shopping centre, they've got little sweet dispensers. You put £1 in and get some sweets. And at the front of each one, they've got a little card that tells you what it is. And I literally saw a lad, must have been about 5, maybe 6, walk up to it and start doing this on the front of it, thinking like it's a touchscreen. Of course, it's not a touchscreen.
Yeah.
The problem is they think everything's touchscreen because they're growing up with this and they're growing up with tablets. And I've seen bloody toddlers, like 3-4-year-olds, sat in a pram with a bloody tablet, and they're 3-4 years old, and they're on a tablet. And as a result, we are seeing a younger generation having very, very negative impacts in the brain. We are seeing younger generations now who have very short attention spans because they're so exposed to stuff like TikTok. They can't focus on anything for very long. We have a serious generational problem now with children who cannot read. Like 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old who literally struggle to read or can't read. We have children being raised on tablets and on smartphones, and we have children who are growing up to struggle with social skills because they just don't have any. And in the way, the world is becoming digital. Good point, Andy. Movie Grown Up sums that up. Yeah, it does. The thing is, like, bit by bit, and the other issue as well. Apologies, I don't want to offend anybody. I'm going to be completely brutally honest. Lazy parenting is becoming a problem. We have too many parents now who are on these things all the time. Yep. And as a result, they're not doing the job. They're not raising their child. We are now looking at a genuine epidemic within the next 4 to 5 years where 35 to 40% of 5 to 6-year-olds will be starting school unable to read, potentially unable to speak properly, possibly not fully toilet trained, possibly with severe attention issues. I know I'm getting pretty deep here, but the point I'm trying to make is the next generation is quite possibly screwed. We all grew up in the 80s and 90s. We've grown up in a time where there was no social media, no mobile smartphones. We were out on the streets, we were playing. We knew the streets. We were always out there playing with friends and having a good time. And
we're out on the streets.
Generally, that's the thing. Now, I know differences with technology is huge, but I'm serious. If you gave the average 10-year-old, if you sat down and said, I don't know, if I gave them a Nokia 3310, they'd probably have no idea what it was. They probably wouldn't understand what it was. Or if you tried to explain dial-up internet, they wouldn't have a clue. It's generally. I know there's a difference in technology and everything, but if we don't really seriously start to do something within the next 10 years, we are going to have some serious problems. like serious. I know some schools are doing smartphone bans now where they literally the kids have to put the phones in like lockers and stuff, or they're not allowed drawing lessons, which is fair enough. Because I know some schools are saying, it's difficult because some kids are on the phones all the time, even in lessons.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest, like my phone, I don't really get huge, there's not really a lot going on my phone. Well, there's a lot going on at the moment because of all the bloody emails I'm getting from the solicitors and the estate agent. But apart from that, like, I don't normally get much going on my phone in the day. Whereas the younger generations are using them a hell of a lot more, and everything's all interconnected. But, as I said, the real question is, if we don't do something soon, we are going to be dealing with an epidemic of a generation who are going to really struggle.
That is totally true.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I'm getting in deep again. Sorry, man, I'm going on a tandem again. Sorry, but,
There's no real theme to my live streams, anyways. It's literally just a chinwag about whatever. But no, you bring up a good point because, again, like going back to when we was a kid, the nines. We grew up obviously we're Nancy's babies. Obviously, we were born right at the latter end of the 80s. 18. I was born obviously we were both 89, and we were literally the last generation to actually have a proper childhood before technology took over, and that's a lot of kids now don't know what being a kid's all about anymore. Childhood. I feel a lot of kids. I feel sorry for kids nowadays because I feel they've never had what we had when we were kids. Because that freedom of going out for bike rides, that freedom of going out and playing with your friends, that freedom of yes, there was technology to a degree when we was a kid. We had PlayStation. The first PlayStation came out when I was what? When did the PlayStation come out? Was it
95, I think. 95, 96.
I think I got my PlayStation when I was maybe about 8 or 9, or 10 maybe. I don't know, but anyway. So, like I say, I mean, I had a PlayStation, a PS1. My dad actually got me I had an old Master System, Sega Master System, and an old Atari. So I was growing up. Well, obviously, with me being in the 90s, I grew up with a lot of the older media. Obviously, back in the 90s, we still had VHS. The only media thing that I don't have much knowledge about is the 8-track things that for cars. Obviously, are you aware of them, Sam? 8-tracks.
Yeah, I know. It was before tapes, like rather than putting them in, uh, uh, was it sort of vertically? You put them in horizontally, didn't you?
It was
They
like
were a larger version.
yeah, it was like a thing that you plugged into your car stereo or whatever, or it was like incorporated, or some cars had an 8-track player thing, and that was something for a while, and then cassettes took over. I'm aware of cassettes. Literally, I mean, growing up in the 90s, I know what a floppy disk is. I know what a VHS cassette is. Obviously, there was the version of the VHS. There was another type of cassette that before that as well.
Yeah, Betamax.
Yeah, Betamax. Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
Betamax.
like with VHS, slotted in. Betamax was literally top. It was almost like a PlayStation 1.
Yeah, and then there was another format which was actually films were on almost like a vinyl player.
Yeah, Laserdisc, which
Discs.
Laserdisc was sort of almost like the DVD before the DVD. It was in the late 70s, I think it was released. It just for some reason it never caught on. But the weird thing is you could buy laser discs off eBay for nothing. But the Laserdisc players, though, they're really expensive. But laser discs you can buy for nothing. It's really weird. Like they're practically worthless.
Yeah.
But the players themselves are worth a lot of money. It's really weird. Like you could, if you had a perfect mint condition laser disc player, it's probably worth like 500, 600 quid. If you had a mint condition, say, Star Wars original films on Laserdisc, maybe you'll get 50 quid for them. It's really weird. Like, there's no real value in Laserdiscs, but there's value in the Laserdisc players.
No, there's not any real value in them, but there are a lot of the old retro like technology, like Betamax, for instance, laser discs, a lot of like the pre-VHS DVD days. A lot of that's become collector's items now. And I don't know if you're aware of a YouTuber, Sam, called Techmoan. I don't know if you.
No, I can't say I've heard of them.
He's really good. He's been on YouTube for a long time, and he's got a lot of subscribers now. He's really, really good. He's in England. He's British, and hang on a sec. That's him gone. Sorry about that, folks. Some bloody idiot. I'm getting into that point of the night now, getting bloody scams and idiots.
Well, any time past 9 o'clock now. Any time past, yeah, from 9 o'clock, you always get the idiots. Don't know why.
Yeah. Well, what was I saying about? Tech Moan. That's it. Yeah. Basically, he's a tech reviewer. He reviews or talks about tech, like bygone technology that's no longer used anymore. He's gone into Betamax, he's gone into VHS, he's gone into mini disc, he's gone into stuff that was only released in Japan, never released outside Japan. Some really interesting like video, audio, and all sorts of equipment. It's really. He also talks about a lot of new stuff as well, not just old. And he's a really good channel, and I recommend him. He's really, really good. And thanks to his channel, I've actually kind of like discovered a lot of stuff that was like that came out like in the 70s and stuff that came out like back in like the 30s. He literally there's a lot of interesting stuff he talks about, like the whole cylinder. Before records, it was like a cylinder with grooves on it, so similar to a vinyl, but it was
wax cylinders.
Yeah, it was like a cone thing, and the needle kind of worked off that with a gramophone thing. Where we was, let's see where we are with the comments. Andy Brown says, my nephew struggles sometimes with the clocks, with the hands. Yeah, when I was a kid, obviously I'm dyslexic, so that's my excuse in a way. But, what's it? Excuse, but you know what I mean. I'm dyslexic. But when I was at primary school, I was below the national average when it came to reading age, spelling, grammar, maths, everything. And then obviously I got tested while I was at primary school, and obviously I got diagnosed being dyslexic. And things like the clocks, the time, I couldn't even understand that. But obviously I worked on that. But it's becoming a problem now. You can't say, well, obviously you never know. It could be something to do with if a child is on the spectrum or whatever, or is neurodivergent or whatever. They're going to struggle with certain things, so understanding or processing information compared to another kid. But we're not talking about that thing here. We're talking about that kids now, as everyone understands what we're talking about in the comments, and that kids now they're being raised by computers. They're being raised by tablets. If little Jimmy or little Rosie is playing up and having a temper tantrum, out comes the tablet. There you go. You know what I mean? The tablet is taking away the parent, and it's becoming a tool. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, like when I was a kid, I didn't get my very first phone until I went to middle school, and it was a hand-me-down. My dad gave me his old phone. It was a Nokia. I can't remember the name of the model name, but it was It was an old Nokia with a slight little nodgy aerial on the top of it, and you could take off the front plates to different colours. And that was my dad's mobile, and he gave me that as a hand me down, and he got a new one. And that was my very first mobile phone. And obviously back then you could only make phone calls and texts, and it was top up credit, wasn't it? It was like back then it'd give you
Yeah, you had to once a week go to the local coin shop, top up your credit.
Yeah.
Yeah, nowadays it's all contract. I've not used credit on a phone in probably 15, 16 years.
But yeah, I mean when it comes to things like that, that's why I think obviously we are the last generation. The 90s kids are the last generation that understands what being a child is like before technology truly took over, because the first camera phones came out in the year 2000, 2001, around about that ballpark, when the first camera phones started rolling out. And that's when you started to see the future starting to creep in slightly.
Like the first camera phones, you actually had to plug them in. They were separate. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
They were literally like a little sort of tiny little camera about the size, maybe the size of your thumb. And you literally had to plug it into the phone, and separately, like the very, very early ones, it was like a real grainy black and white image. And then you slowly got the first integrated cameras in phones, and like they were about 2 or 3 megapixels.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there was some phones, like you said, where you had to like plug it in as an accessory. But then, like, I think one of the phones I got, there was a Nokia I got. It wasn't the 3310. It was like one of the model after that. I can't remember what the model is, but it was a Nokia, and I was one of the first. It was actually the very first phone with a camera in the back of it, actually integrated into the phone. But my point is that my parents were pretty strict when it came to things like phones. A lot of the kids at school when obviously at primary school, I never had a mobile phone because I was too young. But right at the end of primary, before we actually would, like, the last year of primary school, and then obviously we're going to move up to middle school, so middle high school, and that year a lot of kids were getting mobile phones then, and I didn't. Obviously, I was one of the kids that didn't have a mobile phone for a little bit, and my parents were umming and ahhing about me having a phone. Being a kid, I was like, "Can I have a mobile phone?" My parents were like, "No, you're not having one. Why do you want one?" And we're like, "Well, all the kids have got one. Typical kind of kid thing. All the other kids have got one, and it's like the new thing, keeping contact with people." And they were a bit concerned about me having a mobile phone because of, they just didn't want me to have one. They wanted me to be a kid. They wanted me to not really go into technology too much. They wanted me to enjoy my childhood while I still was a kid, which I understand that now, being older, I understand what they were doing with that. They were concerned. They wanted me to actually enjoy being a child and not be completely like this, like texting people all the time or running big bills and that kind of thing. They didn't want me to do that, or calling stupid numbers and running up the bill and getting my dad pissed off. That kind of thing. So they were a bit concerned about it at the first, but then my dad actually they sat me down, and my dad gave me his phone. They said, "There you go, that's your mobile phone, but you're only allowed to use that for emergencies." That's what the parents said to me. You're only allowed to use that mobile phone for emergencies. Texting, ringing. If you have a problem, ring me or your dad. That's what it's for. It's not for messaging your friends. It's not for just. Obviously, I did message friends, of course. I'm gonna. But the point is that that's why my dad gave me his old phone, because they wanted to kind of like test me out if I was responsible enough to have a phone at a young age. I think I must have been about 11, maybe about 11 years old when I got my first phone, which was my dad's old hand-me-down. And then the first phone that my parents actually bought me brand new was the Nokia 3310. And on that, all I played on that was Snake and texting. Obviously, I only knew you, Chris, and Ben back then at school. So they were the only people I was texting if I ever did text anyone. And but yeah, it was Snake that I was playing all the time on it. And but the very first phone I bought myself with my own money, because that's when I was stewarding at KC Stadium. So this is at the time when I was stewarding at KC, or MKM Stadium as it is now, where Hull City play. And obviously I saved my money up and I went out. It was my birthday that year, and I went. It was after my birthday. I got my birthday money, and I'd saved a little bit of money myself. And the first mobile phone I bought myself with my own money was the Motorola Razr. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I know the first man. I remember the first phone I owned was the Sony Ericsson 300i.
Yeah.
It was a little silver flip phone.
Yeah.
I remember that. I had that for a long time. Yeah, that was the very first phone I ever owned. Well,
Yeah.
technically, it was a second phone. The first phone I had, I can't remember what it was. It was just a really cheap thing I bought from Argos for like 30 or 40 quid. And I had that for about maybe a year. Then I bought the 300i and I had that for a long time.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I mean, the phones I had lasted me a long time. I want one of these kids where every year they'll got a new phone. Like, it was like, the popularity contest with the kids, like, oh, I've got the brand new Nokia. I've got this, I've got that. I'm like, fuck off. I mean, like the Motorola Razr, funny story, I actually got that phone twice. It was partly my fault, but also, I'm not going to, obviously, God rest my mum's soul. I stupidly let my phone was in my pocket, wasn't it? Ended up in the wash. Yeah, I got home. Well, no, it was a weekend actually. So I got up, and my mum came through the door, through from the kitchen. Her face was properly like, oh dear. I was like, oh, what's happened? And mum was like, I am so sorry, Johnny. Like that to me, and I was like, why, what? And she handed me my phone. The battery had swelled up like that. It was just like, once a real thin phone, it was now 3 times the size. It had been put through the frigging washer. I somehow forgot it was in my pocket, and my mum didn't check the pockets before putting it into the wash. So that was the Motorola Razr. And that was a phone that I bought on my own money. My mum felt really bad about it, even though it was my fault really for not taking it out of my pocket.
You're not the only one, mate. My mum did the same thing when I was 19. She put one of my jacket. I literally took my jacket off, and my phone was in my pocket.
Yeah.
And it was a Nokia N8. It was the very first smartphone I ever owned.
Yeah,
And it was in my jacket pocket. I put it on the settee. And then I walked out. I literally came back a couple of minutes later, and my jacket was gone. I was like, where's my jacket? And my mum said, I'll put it in the wash. I was like, my phone's in my pocket. And it got absolutely ruined.
Mm.
Yeah, some things like that happen.
Yeah, it's one of them things. But actually, my mum decided to buy me the phone again. So I think the phone was still under warranty at the time. So I think I'd only had the phone about a couple of months. So I think it was still under the year warranty thing when I bought it. So I think, or I don't know, but I managed to get the phone again. So I technically got that phone twice. But my dad got it as well. My dad ended up getting the Razr because my dad really likes the phone, and he ended up getting himself one as well. But he had it in silver. I had a black one, and my dad had a silver one. But yeah, I mean, Yeah, obviously it was all primitive back then. It was just text and phone calls and the odd game that the phone had on it, and listening to ringtones, and then obviously it wasn't until like the mid 2000s when you started getting phones where they were more like more for music.
Well,
'Cause
one of the things
yeah,
I sort of miss is all the experimental phones.
yeah,
Like there was a time where phone manufacturers really went experimental.
yeah,
They did put like odd features on the phone, or they try something new. Like you don't really get that much these days. And there was a time where phone companies were really experimenting with phones. Some with varying degrees of success. Do you remember a phone called the Engage?
yes,
That was marketed as the future. It was literally it was a phone that was effectively also a handheld game
game thing, yeah,
console. It's like a handheld console,
yeah,
and it
yeah,
was marketed as being the future, but it just never took off because it was a really weird design. It just looks like trying to use it as a phone was really difficult. But yeah, I mean, these days there's games on bloody modern phones anyway. But back then, which was around about sort of 2007, I think it was 2008. It was very unique, but it just never took off.
yeah. I mean, like I say, I mean, I'm really quite thankful that even though I'm a '90s baby, and a lot of the people, well, the people that are in the chat right now, obviously they're a bit older than us, but I'm kind of glad we are in that bracket where we did actually like experience what being a child is all about. Having fun, being a kid, don't have to worry about political stuff going on. Just have that ignorance, that childhood ignorance about ourselves. The times have changed where social media's taken over and kids are seeing a lot of the toxic stuff going on online, and it's a different time. And it's also kids bringing up kids as well. Like parents that have still got a young head on the shoulders and not responsible really to have children. They're still young in their heads, and it's them type of parents that are using technology as a way to bring their children up, and it's not the right way to go about it. And that's why you're getting a generation of kids, as you said, Sam, that don't really know what being a child, what being a kid is all about. They are constantly just they're illiterate. They're illiterate at just the most basic of things of like using a pen on paper. Everything is technology and tap this, tap that, and using a stylus instead. Things like that, and it's kind of a sad thing. I mean, if I ever meet someone and I settle down and I have children of my own, I will do the same thing my parents did for me. And I would not let my child have a phone until at least until they get to about where I was. If I feel that my child is responsible enough to have a phone, I would get him a real basic one. You know what? I might actually get my actually because they actually re-released the 3310, a newer one, didn't they?
Yeah, it's
Uh,
got full screen and a basic camera. Yeah.
yeah, I would actually get my kid one of them. I'd get my child one of them, and I'll say that's your phone. And if they start getting teased and everything at school, I'll be right into that school, and I'll be fucking telling them like my mum did for me. My mum was in and out of that bloody school like a bloody jack in a box. Um, but end of the day, I want my child to experience being a child, what it's all about, and slowly. I don't want to influence my kid. I don't want to be one of those helicopter parents where I'm constantly hovering over them and trying to kind of bend them to this direction. I want them to experience things and go in their own direction because that's what you're supposed to do with kids. You're supposed to lead them. You guide them, but you let them figure things out on their own. That's one way of being a good parent. Um, but for me personally, I would introduce stuff slowly when they're a bit older and understand things better. And I would like say, "Oh, what is this?" And I would introduce them to a cassette player. I would introduce them to what an old VHS was. I would introduce them to what like my dad did to me, because my dad had all the old technology, had the old hi-fi stuff, records, cassettes, mini disc players. He had all sorts of different media stuff and video stuff and cameras. And I used to borrow my dad's video camera. We had a massive big video camera that used like little cassettes. It was like a VHS cassette but mini that went into the side of it, and it was like this big thing like this, almost like a massive big camera. And my dad bought that when I was born. My dad had that from me being born in 1989, and he bought it to document like me growing up. That my dad decided it cost him over £1,000, this camera back in the day. Because obviously back then a lot of that camera stuff was expensive back then. And he bought this camera because they wanted to because obviously they were trying for a child for a long time. My mum and my dad went through hell trying to have a child, and I finally came along. Bloody hell, I feel so sorry for your mother, so sorry. But I came along, and they actually wanted to document me growing up. And there's a lot of home movies of me at Christmas and birthdays and stuff, and I'm a christening and things like that. And so that's the whole point of having it. But I nabbed my dad's camera, and I used to make my own, like with my toys. I used to have Action Men, some Transformers toys, some G.I. Joe stuff. I had a lot of different toys, and I used to like make like little home movies, my own films. And I think I had you and Chris in some of them as well. Some like old like home movies of us like doing like stupid stuff, like pretending to kill each other and stuff like that. Water fights and things like that. And I literally commandeered my dad's camera just to do stuff like that with it. But that's what being a child's all about. You know what I mean? Doing stuff like that, playing with, being imaginative. Because play, a lot of people think playtime is a waste of time. You should be focusing on academics. You should be focusing on becoming a doctor or a lawyer, and not really not messing about and wasting time. Wasting time. You should be doing this and doing that, being academic. There's a bit of that as well. But, that's all part and parcel of being a kid. Is play is a great way to expand the brain of a young person. It makes them become, it broadens their horizons, it broadens their brain, and it kind of like introduces them to this and to that. And, play is a very important thing. And a lot of kids now don't understand what playtime is. They don't understand what that is. It's all about playtime now is either gaming on Fortnite, because that's where all the kids are doing now, is playing Fortnite, or Minecraft, or something like that, or Roblox, another game. So it's either gaming, tablet, phone. There's no playtime in there at all. It's just technology straight away. So if I ever have a child, I would actually get them a real basic phone that has no smart features on it at all, and I would like use that as a stepping stone, and I would then buy them their first smartphone when I feel they're at an age where they're responsible enough to have a smartphone. And I would tell them about the dangers of online, and I would put parental controls on the phone as well, so they don't go on suspicious websites. And that's all been that's just being a good parent. That's looking out for your kids. And a lot of parents don't do that. They don't put parental controls and stuff. That's why they're even though my dad put parental controls on our Sky Digital box when I'm not going to say too much because obviously I can't say too much on YouTube, but my dad went back when Sky was relatively new. You had in order to watch films, there was no sports package back then. It was just movies and Sky Television. It wasn't until later when Sky Sports started, and that was like a separate thing you had to pay on top of your subscription. And back when Sky Digital was like kind of like in its infancy, when we first got it in the house, there was only movies, but for movies you had to pay to view, basically. So you had to pay to view each film you wanted to watch. So my dad would allow us to pick a film on like a Friday or Saturday night, and we'd watch a film on Sky. And that was basically kind of what we did. We'd watch like either a Disney film or an action film or something, and we'd have like a little movie night either on a Friday or a Saturday after school or whatever on a weekend. I figured out the parental control password to my dad's, to the Sky box, and I ran up a massive bill, not knowing, because obviously I'm too young to understand anything like that about money. And let's just put it this way: I run up a bill of different films, loads of different. I'm not talking about blue films here. I'm talking about just normal films. And I discover the Playboy. I discover pornographic channels. I think it was Babe Station or something else. And I can't remember exactly what, but it was definitely, naked ladies and fun times. And my dad got the bill in. I came home from school one night. My dad was pissed, but my mum saw the funny side in it. And I come home from school. My dad was still at work at the time, and I come home from school. My dad wasn't in, and my mum said, "Well, you just wait till your dad comes home." And I went, "Why?" They went, and she pointed at the Sky box, and I went, "Oh shit!" And then my dad come home, and then he just blanked me, went straight into the kitchen, and then my mum just started bursting out laughing in the kitchen. And I was like, "You need to understand the importance of money. You've just cost me so in buying films, and what's this XXX this, XXS that? You're watching blue films and this, that, and the other." And I was just like, "Oh shit!"
How old were you at the time?
I must have been about maybe 12 or 13.
Well, fair enough. I mean, I will admit, so when I was about 16 or 17, you obviously you're a Bobby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one day, Bobby, he comes round to see me, and he brings a DVD around with him of the variety with naked ladies in it. And I left the DVD on the table, literally just over here, the dinner to dining table right here. And I left this DVD on the dining table. Completely forgot about it.
Yeah.
And then, unknown to me, my mum came home and saw this DVD sitting on the table. And then when my dad came home, she told my dad about it. And all I get was, the next thing I know is a knock on my bedroom door. Me and Bobby are in there. I open the door to literally have to see my dad stood there, holding up this DVD and asking, "Whose does this belong to?" My dad didn't really seem to care, but it was like, "Ooh, my mum definitely cared."
Yeah,
so
it is understandable. I like it that my mum saw the funny side in it, but also saw the serious side in it. The implications of that. I run up a big bill. I don't know how much it was, but it must have been in the hundreds. It must have been over £100 in just like buying films off Box Office. Remember Box Office on Sky? And just buying films, just watching the new releases that I hadn't seen yet, and some stuff that was 18 plus that I was a bit young to watch. So that's why.
a certain one comes to mind. that I know you were told not to watch one night.
Yeah.
you switched over to the channel on a very specific scene of this film.
Yeah, well, this was when I was about 12 or 13 years old, so about the same time as this issue. Actually, this was on normal telly. It was when Channel 5 launched, so it was like maybe a year or so after Channel 5 launched as a channel, because that was like in the early 2000s or so, wasn't it? But it was on Channel 5, and this wasn't a Sky issue where I, rented it off of Sky or anything like that. It was just on normal telly. And my mum and dad went to bed. My mum shouldn't have said anything, really, because, being a kid, I'm going to watch it, aren't I? My mum and dad went to bed. This was on a Friday night. So home from school, it was a Friday night, it was the weekend, so I stayed up a bit late. My mum, and obviously I was being 12 or 13, they let me stay up on a Friday, Saturday night a bit later than normal, after midnight anyway. And so they went to bed, and about 5 minutes later, my mum shouts down the stairs to me, "Johnny, there's a film on Channel 5. Don't put it over, it's absolutely awful." And that was that. And I went, okay. Straight on to Channel 5. And the film in question was Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original. And right as the woman gets hooked on the hook. And I was engrossed. I was not terrified, I was laughing. I just, obviously, I must have been sadistic. I must have been like bloody Damien from frigging The Omen. I don't know, but it did not faze me at all. I was watching this film and I was like, oh, this is incredible. The gore's incredible. Oh, that chainsaw's ace. I was just watching, I was engrossed. And then I didn't realise, because back then there was a secret channel that mirrored what was being programmed downstairs on the TV.
Room mirroring or something. Yeah, you could see what the other person was watching. Yeah.
Yes. I didn't realise this. My dad turned it over to that channel to see what I was watching. And next minute, my mum's back on the landing, shouting down to me, "What did I say not to put that film on?" I was like, "What's the problem? It's good." And she was like, "It's bloody horrible." It was just like, I couldn't get away with it then, because obviously my dad changed the password on the Skybox as well, and I couldn't figure it out anymore. So that all went down shitter. And then obviously after that, remember Apollo Video in Square?
Yeah.
That's where I used to go.
I wonder how many people, so speaking of Apollo, mate, how many people in Ezel do you think even remember it or even know why the building, because it's still the building's still there, but how many people do you think actually know why that building has a letterbox on the wall?
Yeah, because that was to post your rentals in, wasn't it?
Yeah, if you were posted it back on let's say when they were shut on a Sunday or if they were closed, yeah, you posted it back. So I think it's still got the letterbox in the wall. I think
I haven't seen it, but yeah, it was there.
It may have been removed by now, but I remember it was there for quite a long time after Apollo shut.
Yeah, it was. I miss Apollo. That was great. And for those in the chat that don't know what Apollo is, it was basically kind of like it was similar to Blockbuster. We did have a Blockbuster in Hull as well, but that was quite far away. It was Anlaby Road. Compared to where I live, it was at least a good 15-20 minute drive from where I live. But in Hesel where we live, me and Sam and also Tony, there was basically like an Apollo, basically like a Blockbuster like knockoff kind of thing. It was a video rental shop, and that's where I kind of got introduced to a lot of different films. Again, on a weekend, on a Friday or a Saturday, we used to have a membership card. They had like membership cards like they did at Blockbuster, and I would go in there, have a browse, and I would obviously my mum or my dad would have to get me some films because they were like 15 or 18 plus certificates. Same with some of the video games, because they did go into video games as well. So there was some so it was like the days of the PS2 when Apollo was about, and I rented some games in there as well. And it was a really good shop. They sold popcorn and all that kind of stuff, and you could go in. You go into the shop and you could smell the popcorn, and just like all the films are all displayed like properly. And it was really good because it actually spread my horizons, because I checked out a lot of films that were like beyond my years, and also stuff that was currently coming out and all that. And it was really good. I do miss
Yeah.
I do miss Apollo. It was really good.
Yeah, did you know that there are there's exactly 4 DVD rental shops left in the UK?
No, I didn't know.
Yeah, it was on. I remember there was something on telly last year about it, and there's 4 DVD rental shops in the UK that are still running, and one of them's being run. It's the same guy in questions in his about 70 now, and he's been running the shop pretty much his entire life. And when he started it was all videos, obviously.
Yeah.
And then it went over to DVD, and he's still running it today, and it's one of 4 DVD rental places that's still going.
Wow.
Yeah, you don't really get the concept of renting a DVD now is sort of pointless, really. I mean, you can rent digital, like YouTube, for example. You can buy and rent films on YouTube that are digital.
Yeah.
But I mean, interesting fact. You remember Love Film?
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you know that the Love Film like facility where they kept all the DVDs, it still exists?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, apparently, because obviously it got bought out by Amazon, and the actual place where Love Film had all the DVDs stored still exists, and it's still full of DVDs.
Wow. Yeah, I used to utilize Love Film, because that's what Netflix was as well originally, wasn't it? It was like a rental.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was like a rental thing online, and then you would get a disc in the mail and you'd send it back, similar to Love Film. But that's what killed rental shops. That's what killed Apollo. Was Love Film and also Netflix. Were those services was what killed it, and that's what killed Blockbuster as well. It was moving to buying online and getting your disc through the mail. And it was actually cheap as well. I mean, I think Love Film. I think you got about 2 or 3 films at a go. I think
it used, what was it, like a £5 a month or sort of thing? And you got about, it'd be like 2 or 3 rent DVDs you could rent a month. I used to use it a lot when I was like 16, 17. It was the Netflix of the time, before Netflix. It was the best way to get hold of a film.
Yeah. Let me catch up with the comments here. So, where was we? Let's see, where was I? Raymond says, when we were kids, we wanted to text someone. We made a campfire, made smoke signals. And we liked it. That's true. Andy says, I've been here since the stream started, and you've had an idiot for a while now. Raymond says, hey, you could also play Snake on those odd knockers. Yes, you could. That was freaking brilliant. Andy, I see kids about 2 and up in push chairs with phones, just their parents don't have to bother with them. Yeah, exactly. Download how to open a book. And then we've got Mr. Adam White. We got the man, the myth, the legend right now. He just goes, my dad went through a phase of taking us to the cinema to see films. Normal films, Knowles, eh? And that inspired me to get into the business. Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, my dad never took me to the cinema. My dad was never a fan of the cinema. My dad never saw the point of going to cinema. My mum my mum was the one that took me to see films when I was really young, right up until like I was, until I was old enough to go on my own. My mum introduced me to like Disney, Pixar films. Me and my mum bonded over like the golden age or the golden era, as it's dubbed, of Disney, like Jungle Book, The Lion King, and all that kind of stuff. And the very first film I ever my mum took me to go to see at the cinema was The Lion King, the original, back in '95. And the second film was Toy Story '98. And me and my mum bonded like on a weekend when I was really young. We'd have like a little popcorn and movie night on a weekend after school. And so my mum introduced me to that. That's where my love for animation blossomed from. Was from me and my mum bonding over old Disney films and Pixar and DreamWorks and anything animated. Me and my mum loved. And my dad introduced me to mostly action films like Stallone, Arnie, like stuff like that, like the real corny, like the Commando and Eraser. I think it was Eraser, yeah. Rambo and all that stuff. My dad introduced me to like all like the action stuff. But that was like at home basically. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean that's the thing is like, yeah, I mean, I think that's probably where my love for animation and films kind of blossomed. Is like my dad introduced me to like the action stuff, and I kind of introduced myself to horror films because my mum was very squeamish. My mum did not like horror films. My dad doesn't like horror films either. My dad thinks they're stupid. So I kind of introduced myself to horror films through like staying up late on a night and they're coming on TV, or renting them, or like me introducing you to The Sixth Sense, Sam. Do you remember that time?
Yeah, I remember that. Although I would say that the other film that really got me with was The Grudge.
Oh, The Grudge,
But
yes.
that one scene in the Japanese, the drop of Japanese, the original, that one scene that you knew was going to get me. Like everything else was like, fine with it, and then that one scene where it's this great thing about The Grudge, the way it makes everything appear normal.
Yeah.
And like, there's that whole thing where the lady and she's at work and everything's fine. She goes home, everything's fine. She's sat and gets into bed, everything's fine. And then all of a sudden, there's movement under her bed, and she lifts the cover up, and you've got the bloody ghost in her bed, and it's just like, what the fuck? That got to me.
No, that's not The Grudge. That's The Sixth Sense.
No, The Grudge. I'm all about The Grudge.
Yeah, no, that scene you're talking about is that girl that got poisoned and she was under the bed.
No, there's that, but I'm on about the scene in The Grudge where there's the ghost in the bed.
Yeah, the Grudge. You've got the little boy that comes out the side of the bed.
No, there's a scene in it where the lady Kayako, the lady ghost, she's under somebody's duvet.
Oh, that's The Grudge too.
Yeah.
Second one, yeah. Yeah. That's the second one where she goes back to her apartment and she thinks she's been followed, and then she goes to her apartment and then she goes into bed under the duvet, and then you see the duvet move. Yeah. That's the second one. Yeah, I love the second one. Oh man, the practical effects in the second one is incredible. Like that last with the jaw.
They are amazing.
Oh, that last with the jaw missing. I was like, how the hell do that? That looks like she's actually missing her jaw. It's so clever. That's I fell in love with Japanese horror from that point on. I mean, obviously, I watched the original The Ring as well when I was pretty young. So obviously, them films came out in the early 2000s. I think it was like 2001, 2, when the first Grudge films came out and The Ring came out, the original. And then they made the American remakes, which was about like mid 2000s, about time, give or take, about a year or two after. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I introduced myself really to horror because nobody else. I mean, there's only my cousin Leah. She was a massive horror fan, so it was like like it was only like me and my cousin Leah who actually in the family or that close family that actually liked horror films. I mean, like I said, I introduced myself to horror films, and I was watching things like watching some stuff that was beyond my years, and I was watching some really graphic, like really graphic shit that a child of about 12 or 13 should not be watching. And I think I turned out okay. I think, but no, it never had any like effects on me when I was, as I grew up or anything like that. I mean, you do hear some horror stories of kids being influenced by what they see on TV and films, but that never was the case for me. I knew it was fake anyway, but I just really loved. I fell in love with the practicality of it. I fell in love with the practical effects, the makeup, the blood, how they made it look real, even though if in cinema magic it's like really clever. Like when it comes to the vomit, it's like a mixture of what like oatmeal and like slime stuff or something. I don't know. Like they did in The Exorcist, was it like oatmeal or something in the sick to make the sick?
Yeah, something like that. Like a lot of the times they use milk,
Yeah, it was like a
like milk and porridge.
yeah, because it was like a pipe coming up the side of a mouth, wasn't it? And
Mm.
it would the camera angle was kind of like away, so you don't see the pipe, and it would just go. Bleh. Yeah, I've always that's why I've always been a fan of practical effects over CGI.
Adam's asked a good question.
So look, what would be the most influential films from your teenage years? Ooh.
I know what mine is. I mean, there was a lot of films and stuff that I saw in my teen years, but there's two films that I think were quite influential for me.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron. I absolutely love that film.
That's a good film.
It's a masterpiece of animation and a masterpiece of storytelling through the use of music. It is really, really good. And the second film that was hugely influential on me, which really became a bread and butter film, really, something I can go back to, and I love the franchise. It sort of really got me into sort of horror in general. I would say Saw, the Saw films, the first Saw film especially,
Yeah.
because I mean that was definitely a big influence on me. But if we want to talk about what was the most influential film in my life, and it was the very first film I ever saw at cinema with my dad. Now, the first film I ever saw was Toy Story, and that was actually, I remember that was with my mum and my sister.
Yeah.
But the second film I ever saw had the biggest influence on me, and that was the first film I ever went to the cinema with my dad. And I would have been about eight, and that was Dragonheart.
Oh yeah.
And to this day, Dragonheart is still my all-time favourite film. And it had a huge influence on me, which is the influence being that I'm an absolute dragon nerd, and I absolutely love all things dragon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say Dragonheart was the most influential film I ever saw when I was pre-teen years. But teenage years was Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron and the first Saw film. But pre-teen, the film that had the most influence on me was Dragonheart.
Nice. I think for me that really influenced me. I'm gonna out of my favorite genres, which my favorite genre is obviously animation is like one of my favorite. So animation is strongly one of my favorite genres of films or whatever or TV. Horror and action. I would say influential films for me. The Lion King, the original, because that was the very first film I ever went to see with my mom, and that's where my love for animation blossomed.
Why did I say Toy Story? Lion King was the first film I ever saw.
Yeah, that was 95.
Yeah, 95. I don't know why I said Toy Story. Yeah, sorry, Lion King, which is why I got into animation so much. Yeah,
Yeah,
Lion King, then Dragonheart. But yeah, Lion King and Dragonheart, they're my two all-time favourite films, always will be.
yeah, yeah. The Lion King will always be my highest influential film, and it got me into animation. Obviously, the bonding between me and my mom got my mom taking me to see the film in the first place, and it got me. I was just transfixed to this film, and even to this day, it's a film that I do not get bored of. I can watch it endlessly on loop, and I will never get bored of it. It's a film that really kind of like. It's a film that I fell in love with when it came to traditional animation methods. It was before CGI. It was all cell and hand drawn and watercolor backgrounds. It was beautiful. And to this day, it still stands up like it came out like a year ago. It looks gorgeous now, even to this day. And it's just the pinnacle of animation, in my opinion. Yes, other people have a different opinion when it comes to their favourite Disney films, but The Lion King is my first Disney film I ever went to see, ever saw, and that will always be my first one. Second, uh, my other influential film that got me into horror will be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because that was my first horror film of that type, which is like torture horror or slasher. That got me into horror films. And then my third horror film, or my third film that I would say was influential, would be the Jew on the Grudge films, because that got me into psychological horror. And psychological horror has always been one of my favorite horror type of films, and nothing else has really come anywhere close to the impact that film has on you. Still to this very day, and I've watched the Grudge films, the original Grudge films, I've watched them many times, and I still cannot look at an open loft the same way.
Well,
So,
yeah,
yeah,
the first time I ever saw The Grudge, I literally didn't go into a loft for a week. I remember I was literally terrified of the loft because you kept on thinking, oh God, the loft, that's where she lives.
yeah,
But funnily enough, ama- amazing. First film I remember watching was Return of the Jedi. Like Andy stated, first movie I saw in the cinema was Fantasia on a school trip. We had two that I remember. We had two school trips to the cinema that I recall. The first one we went to see George of the Jungle,
oh yeah, I remember that. I don't think
and
I've
then the second one, I think if I remember it right, I'm pretty sure it was Ice Age 2. I
right.
think.
For me, I don't know what the third film I went to see. I only remember the first two. Strangely, I was 5 years old. How the hell I still remember it? I don't know, but it might have been A Bug's Life. I think the third film I went to see at the cinema might have been A Bug's Life, because that was about the same time as Toy Story when it released. So yeah, that might be a good shout. A Bug's Life, because I do remember seeing that at the cinema when it came out, and that was around about '98 when that came out, '99, '98. But yeah, so the first film I ever went to see at the cinema, my mum took me to see, was The Lion King, the original, the one and only, not the freaking CGI shit that we got now. That one. And then, don't get me on that one, because we'll be here till freaking next year. Do not get me on that film. Do not get me on that one. So yeah, so the original Lion King, '95, was the first film I ever went to see at the cinema. Second one was Toy Story, which was '98, that I remember, because we didn't go to the cinema that often. It was literally it was a treat. And with me being young, they didn't take me to the cinema. I went to cinema more when I got a bit older and started going on my own. But when I was a kid, they used to take me. It was obviously I must have seen other films in between '95 and '98, but for some reason I can only remember The Lion King and Toy Story being the two big ones that I went to see as a kid. And then it must have been A Bug's Life after that as well, because that got me into Disney and Pixar films. and everything else that came after that, I introduced myself to, like horror films in general. Like, I mean, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was like my first taste of slasher genre. And I don't really see it as a slasher film, but it is kind of classed as a slasher film because even though it's not, it's a chainsaw, it's not a big knife or anything or a dagger, but it's seen as like it's seen as a slasher film sort of. But it got me into that sort of horror movie. And then the Joe on the Grudge films got me into because that Joe on the Grudge is known as a psychological horror because it's that impactful. It stays with you, and I've not watched a film horror wise that has stuck with me as much as that film has, and I still to this day remember it, and it's still always etched in my brain, and that's why I see that as a massive impact on my life. I would say another impact on my life, but it came later. Another very, very influential film to me personally is Train to Busan. And Train to Busan is a relatively newer film. I think it was, 2013, 15 when that came out. And that was based on a graphic novel, South Korean film. Train to Busan, even though I'm a massive fan of the original of the Godmaster, the Godfather, the man himself, George A. Romero. I will forever love his films. All right, I'm a massive fan of George A. Romero. You know, yeah, you can't deny his impact when it came to the zombie genre. But Train to Busan will forever be one of my favorite zombie films ever made because even though it's a very basic film story wise, it all takes place on a train, and they're going to a place called Busan where the little girl's mother is, and the whole zombie thing happens. A zombie outbreak happens, and it ends up breaking out on the train, and it's just everyone's got to survive on the train. Very simple premise, but what I love about it is they use contortionists. They use really good special effects and practical effects. Yes, they use a little bit of CGI touch up, but it's mostly with the train and like massive numbers of zombies. But I love that film. Everything about that film is so well done. It's well timed. It has a great atmosphere about it. It's freaky as fuck. And I love when they use contortionists. That's another thing why I love the Duel and the Grudge, because they use the contortionists to play the main female spirit. Because her coming down the stairs. Oh, I love that scene. That scene of her coming down the stairs, and you hear the cracks. Like, oh, every time I watch that, I'm just like, yes, I love it. I get really weird when it comes to horror films like that. I really do, but I love it. But yeah, where are we now? Adam, what do you think fans of films have lost with the disappearance of most physical media stores like HMV and the rise of digital? Do you guys miss DVD extras and other benefits on physical media? Well, we still have our HMV in Hull. I know other parts of the UK that sadly they did close, but we still have HMV in Hull. But that is a good question either way. But yeah, I am a big fan and an advocate for physical media, especially films, video games, anything that is a physical thing, even books, comic books, graphic novels, anything like that. I prefer to buy it in hand physical. I've never liked digital versions of any of it, even though I do utilize obviously digital means like Netflix and stuff. But I prefer if I like something and it's, say if it's a Netflix original or if it's an animated series or a film and I really like it, and it comes out physical, I always buy it physical because it doesn't always stay. Like Netflix will get rid of stuff after time, Same with Prime Video and all the others. Everything is kind of like timed. I mean, like a prime example of that is a really good animated series, Voltron Legendary Defender, Netflix original, fantastic series, right? Really good. It's never had a physical release officially. It's never been officially released. I have it, but it's bootleg. It's bootleg. Anyway, but I actually found I went on eBay and found a pretty cheap one of all of it on a bootleg release. But yeah, the reason why I'm bringing that up is that they've deleted it. It's not on Netflix anymore, and that's they don't usually get rid of Netflix original stuff. And I'm so glad I did get that bootleg when I did, because that's why I am such an advocate for physical media. But again, part of that question, what you say, Adam, to answer the special extras, I do miss, because when it comes to physical media, that's why, like on DVD or Blu-ray, when the mix between when Blu-ray first came out and Blu-ray kind of took over, the Blu-ray used to be the better option out of the two, because the Blu-rays used to have more extras on them. Now there isn't many extras. You might get the odd film that has a behind-the-scenes featurette, or it might be commentaries, or it might be this, that, and the other. Now you get bugger all as extras, unless it's a very special set, like the Lord of the Rings box set that I got for Christmas, the Middle Earth box set that me and Sam's got. That's got shitloads of extras on it, which is fantastic. I do miss the extras. I do miss the extras. I know a lot of people don't like the extras because it takes the magic away from the film, because the movie magic and everything. But I like watching how they craft it, the concept art, to casting the character, casting the cast, to them making it. And I do miss that, and that's why I love like watching documentaries, because whenever they make a documentary talking about something, like was it last year or the year before, I got the documentary about how they made the RoboCop film, or the films for RoboCop, called RoboDoc, and it was an independent thing that got released. It was an independent filmmaker that made it, and they got Peter Weller, they got everyone that was still alive interviewed on it, and they went through everything, all the behind the scenes of it. And I loved that film. I loved that documentary so much, because it gave so much backstory of the highs and the lows. Like, Peter Weller did not get on with the director of the original film, and there was a lot of friction. Like, there was problems with the fitting of the suit, and all that kind of thing. And there was a lot of interesting stuff about behind the scenes of that film, and I missed that. A lot of like releases now don't have that element anymore, and it's thanks to independent filmmakers that are making documentaries like that, where we do get that now. But yeah, I do feel we have I think kids today, or the younger demographic, I don't think that they're missing out on the real intrigue of what goes into making a film, or a TV series, or an animated series, or an animated film. They don't appreciate, they don't have it to appreciate the people that made it and poured their heart and soul into it. But that's my opinion. What's yours, Sam?
DVD, like physical media, has sort of started to take off again, especially when it comes to special features. There's a lot of films that are getting re-released on Blu-ray and 4K that now have loads of special features in them.
Yep.
And sort of the thing with special features in my case, it was really what made the DVD. I mean, back in the day when DVDs were sort of first coming out, like 20 odd years ago, you would always get a second disc, and that would always have behind the scenes, making of, all stuff like that. And it was just so interesting to watch when you could see how they made the film. You could see sort of all the behind the scenes stuff. Like the Middle Earth box set, for example, is my personal favorite box set that I own, and just the sheer amount of information. I mean, when I bought, like, the last time I watched that box set, it took me a whole year to go through it all because it's 30 discs, excluding the films, because it's got Lord of the Rings on it and The Hobbit, and it's all the extended editions of all the films. You've then got the other discs, all the remaining sort of 23 discs. 24 discs, and it's all the behind the scenes of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And it's all everything from random fly on the wall stuff to, stuff of them interviewing the actors. And it's stuff like that that is so interesting because you get to see how the films work, what it's like behind the scenes. You get to see the actors doing stuff, and it's really, really interesting to see all that. And it really is a big selling point of DVDs and physical media as a whole.
Yeah.
It's why, for example, I'm a huge advocate of books. Like, I love reading, and I've never been a big fan of ebooks. I have a few, but not many. And I don't mind, like, audiobooks. I'm nothing against audiobooks. Audiobooks can be very useful for somebody who, for example, might have bad eyesight. They can't read a book because maybe they can't see very well, but they can listen. So audiobooks is a really good thing. But I like physical media. I like to hold something up. I like to know that the book I'm reading is a physical book, or the film I'm watching is on a physical DVD. And the thing is, as well, if you've got something physical, you physically own it. Like this laptop. I physically own this laptop. It's a real physical thing.
Mhm.
It's the same with a book or a DVD. You buy a DVD, you have bought that film. You physically own that film on disc. It's not like it's been on Netflix, where on Netflix they're technically buying the rights for, say, 2 years, and eventually, whatever the film is, it will no longer be on Netflix. But if you own the film on DVD, that film is yours for, like, the rest of your life, because it's never going to go anywhere. So, I think physical media is incredibly important because it allows us to own things, and it allows us to sort of keep things.
Yep.
If we stopped using physical media altogether, we could lose a lot of things because not everything is digital, not everything is available digitally, and there's a lot of films that you may never see if you don't buy physical media. I've got DVDs from companies that no longer exist, and as a result of that, they're like very rare, and it's very hard to get hold of now. So, yeah, I think physical media is a very important thing.
It is very important, and I think there is. Don't get me wrong, physical media is coming on still. Like, look at the whole boom with vinyl records. Obviously, I grew up with records, anyways. My parents and my grandparents had record players, and my dad used to get his old record collection out and play his records when I was a kid. So I was around records when I was a kid. They sort of, well, they didn't die out completely, but they became unpopular for a while, and then they started coming back again in a big way, and to the point now they outsell the download chart. They literally outsell the streaming and download charts. That's how popular vinyl is. Because at one point, a lot of people said, "Is this just going to be a fad and it'll just go, it'll go again really quickly?" But no, it's constantly, records are going up and up and up. So I argue this point is, there are people out there, like influencers on YouTube, for instance, and people that are a bit younger than us, but understand what a lot of stuff what we're talking about is all about. They're old enough to understand, like, what records are and stuff, and VHSs and stuff. There's this argument where there's two sides of the argument, where physical media is dying and physical media isn't important anymore because digital's taken over. Yes, I agree. Digital has taken over. I do utilize digital stuff, digital services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus. Digital streaming services and stuff has its place. It's down to convenience. That's the key point here. It's convenience. Same with Spotify for your music, even though Spotify is a cesspool really because they don't pay the artists like they do. They get paid something like a couple pence per every listen of their track. They don't really earn much money at all unless there's someone like Ed Sheeran or Beyonce or someone like that. They earn a lot of money through it. But if you're an independent artist, you get bigger bugger all depending of how much traction and how many people listen and follow your music. That shows how much you earn, and it's physical albums, physical CDs that actually earn the money. And a lot of independent artists, I know we're going off topic a little bit with, we're talking about films here, but again, it's still within the realms of physical media. A lot of independent artists, bands, upcoming brand new artists, singers, bands, they are printing their own bloody vinyls, which are expensive as hell to produce your own vinyls. They're doing limited number of vinyls on their websites. They're bringing cassettes back as well. I know it's a bit of a fad, but the cassettes are coming back a little bit as well. Some artists are utilizing cassette format as well. They're trying to utilize physical media of like cassette, CD, and vinyl because it's still a very stable market, and that is where they make their money. That is where music artists, the same with movies, the same with films, the same with animation, Japanese animation, whether you're a fan of anime, physical media really helps and supports everybody involved. The production company, voice actors, everybody that's involved in it, writers, storyboard artists, background artists, everything, they get a snippet out of it if you buy it physical. When you download something digitally, the digital version, they don't always get everything. They don't get the full thing because it's like, yeah, you know what I mean. It's like, so yeah, physical media is incredibly important, especially in the music industry, because things like Spotify and everything, and all these other sites where you can listen to music through, like Amazon Music and such, those places do not pay. They don't get paid very much on those services, the artists, and they're constantly pushing physical media because that's the only way they're going to earn any money is through physical media, because they do get a percentage of everything, of every album or every, and also there's this prepay thing as well. So whenever a single comes out, they're constantly pushing something called prepay or pre-order the song. So whenever they're releasing a single, they'll just go on this massive big like advertising campaign to try and get people to pre-save. That's it, pre-save their like a single. And so in a way, I say it's absolute bullshit. This whole thing of like physical media is dead, because it's not. It's still alive. It's still vibrant. It's just, physical media is still incredibly important. And I'm an advocate of physical media, always will be. I don't care if people are going to label me as, um, a boomer. You know what I mean? I don't care if people are going to kind of like the younger generation are going to see me as a boomer because I'm not living with the times or moving with the times. End of the day, like Sam said as well, I prefer to have something in hand, whether it's a book, comic book, graphic novel, CD, music, video, movies, games. Yes, games nowadays, I know they're just an activation code on a disc. I get it, but I still prefer to have it as a disc, because when you buy something as a digital version, all you need to see happen, all that needs to happen is there's a problem, or that game gets deleted, or something happens where your games or your films are stored, yes, you can download them to most people that are savvy enough would download whatever they buy physical, they download it to a drive so that it's safe. That's a good thing to do. But some people don't do that and end up losing hundreds, if not thousands of pounds worth of films digitally, or movies, or music. And if something was to happen, or a service closes, like Funimation, for instance, is a prime example. When Funimation merged with Crunchyroll, and people in America and so on that bought a lot of anime digitally lost access to what they paid for. And a lot of people lost hundreds, if not thousands, of like this massive library of stuff that they bought digitally, and they lost access to it because Funimation closed their servers. It stopped. Nobody else could get access to what they got in order to copy it or put it onto download it onto a hard drive or something. It was too late. A lot of people were pissed off, and then they all mess up with the whole the merger with Crunchyroll, because that's another tangent for another day. But the fact is, digital is not the all the way. I mean, that's why I'm an advocate for physical. I would much rather have it in my hand or have it in my collection. And like Sam said as well, I've got stuff that is now no longer produced. And in some cases, the licensing is lost. Because a lot of like earlier stuff, like especially anime, for instance, like early anime, because you had all these different independent companies that were dubbing anime into English. You had Pioneer. There was a studio called Pioneer. There was a few other ones that were more independent that worked alongside like certain companies, like big companies, and they no longer exist. And because they've been shut down, the rights to a lot of that stuff was lost. And it's only within recent years that some of that stuff is now getting like re-released on Blu-ray and stuff, like with special releases, and getting new dubs. In order to re-release stuff, they have to redub what's happened because the original dub rights have gone, because they've been lost to the ether, because a company's gone bust. So this is again why physical media is so important, because anything could happen. A company could go under. Prime Video, no, I don't think it'll happen, but Netflix could go under. I don't think it's going to happen, but you know what I mean. It's that nothing is safe from. Nothing is safe. You know, you don't know what's around the corner. You don't know. There could be one big bad decision made by Netflix, or one big bad decision made by Prime Video or Spotify, and then people start boycotting that server, and then they go under, and then people have lost access to things they've paid for digitally, and that goes for video games as well. So this is why, even though video games are just an access code on a disc, I still have that game, so I can still play it as long as it's an offline game. That's why I prefer offline gaming over online, because I can still play the game offline. Even if the online stuff's been deactivated, I can still play the game offline. So that's why, you know, physical media has its advantages massively over digital. So there's my 5 cents on that. Sorry I went on a tangent there, people, but there we go. I will not stay quiet when it comes to physical media. I mean, I've had some back and forth with people that I know that are basically making me out to be an old twat that needs to move with the times, and the times are changing. Yes, they are changing, but I'm not gonna go completely digital just because the times are saying to do so. I mean, we still have. I mean, obviously, there are some places in the UK that still have physical media shops, but I do know, like HMV, closed a lot of its outlets. Closed a lot of its outlets around the UK, but luckily, UK was still seen as a viable store, and luckily, it survived both lockdowns. It survived the credit crunch. It survived a lot of hardship, that store, and it's still going. So I'm very happy.
Reason why HMV in Hull is still going is because I think there's quite a healthy market in Hull, like for vinyl and DVDs in general.
There's a lot of people
Uh,
buying physical in Hull.
yeah, so HMV in Hull's quite active. It's quite a busy shop.
It's always busy,
So that's the reason why it's survived, because it's busy. It's one of the shops in Hull that's always got people in it.
and also CEX is another one as well. CEX, it's all physical media in there, and so they're helping with keeping physical media alive as well. Whether you agree with some of their methods, like ripping off people's artwork and putting it on DVDs and stuff, which was a bit of a controversial thing that happened. Still does happen from time to time. There has been stuff I've picked up that was like, the fuck's this? And they're literally just printed off a bloody someone's artwork and just put it into the DVD and not giving no rights to the artist or anything like that. Plagiarism, basically. Yeah, there was that, but I still say that places like CEX and other stores that are similar to HMV that are still going, they are really helping keeping physical media alive, which I'm very thankful for. Where are we? Andy said, I love it when DVDs have gag reel and outtakes. Yes, that's another thing I do miss. I used to love like the screw ups and mess ups, and yeah, I 100% agree with that. Do you, Sam?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's one thing. Like some of the best gag reels is my personal favorite. It's got to be all the gag stuff on Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Oh, yeah,
There is some really good gag stuff on there. Everything from genuine accidents to stuff where they've just been messing about in the recording. It's just brilliant.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
one of my favourite ones in the gag reel is where they're in the sewers. You know the one I'm talking. And generally, it's just like they're walking around. It's like, don't worry. It's like quickly follow me. It's this way. It's like, how do you know? Are you using alchemy? No, I'm a man. I have a sense of direction.
Yeah, that's something you would not be allowed to do anymore.
No, you wouldn't be allowed to say that anymore. You wouldn't get away with it. But it's just harmless fun. They were saying shit like that, and it's just like them where they'll just generally have fun and just mess about, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
also, do you remember like they started with the like Toy Story? Do you remember in the credits where they did like fake out fake outtakes on like Toy Story and Toy Story 2 and A Bug's Life? They did it for a few films, like at the beginning of Pixar's life, where they did like outtakes where like Woody ended up going in the middle of a piece of tape or something, or or like the sound boom coming into camera shot. And I thought that stuff. I watched a video on YouTube, somebody saying why did that stop, and everything. There's actually like a whole video someone's made on that topic, and I miss those because people used to stay in their seats just to watch those outtakes because they were so good. They don't do it anymore. There was apparently a film that came out, was it last year or year before, that kind of tried to bring it back, but it didn't work as well. It just didn't. It wasn't a very good film. I can't remember what it was called, but it was a Pixar film. I don't know if it was a Pixar or in-house Disney film. But I don't know. But there was a film that came out recently, or fairly recently, that tried to bring that back, but it didn't have the same impact, which is a shame. You like seeing the talents of the people that create the movie we love? Yep, absolutely. We are recording one of our shows on Robocop next week. You are so right. The making of the film is a fascinating It's as fascinating as the film itself. It is. I recommend that, Sam. Have you seen it? The RoboDoc documentary.
No, I've heard of it.
I've got it on. I've got it on DVD. Whenever you're free, Sam, I can always show it to you. I've actually got it. It was done by an independent filmmaker, and he actually went. He's actually British. It's actually a British production. But actually, the kid is from England, and he went to America, and he tracked down all like Peter Weller and all the other everyone that's still alive. He got loads of really good insight, and it's actually one of the best documentaries I've seen from an independent filmmaker for a long time. It was on Prime Video, free to watch as well for a while. I don't know if it is anymore, but it's fantastic. It is absolutely fantastic. It's in 2 parts. It's quite a long one. It's quite long because it's actually in 2 parts because it was like a series. It was like, I think it was split into like 2 or 3 episodes or something like that. It was like a mini doco series, but it's pretty long, but it goes into a lot of detail. It's really good. It goes into concept art, everything. It's really clever. Andy, I have DVDs that have never been on streaming services as far as I know, such as Condor Man. Yeah, that's again another thing. I mean, there is stuff that I remember, like Disney, for instance. There is some classic Disney Channel stuff, animation, that has never gone on Disney Plus service, and it still is one of like a loved thing that they did. There was some people may not remember it, but does anybody remember in the chat a Disney series called House of Mouse? And it was basically kind of like original animated things around a cinema complex. And they would kind of like interview different, like Lady and the Tramp was there, and all the characters from the different Disney films that had come out before that. Goofy, Donald Duck, and all that were there, working this like movie complex, and they would show like outtakes, and they would show like clips and episodes of certain things, like classic animation from Disney, and that has never gone up on Disney Plus. And people have asked the question, why has it never gone up on Disney Plus? And apparently, I don't know if it's something to do with like licensing or something. I don't know if there's something about that series Disney does not want to put out again digitally, and it's never been released physical. So that's a bit of media that's been lost, unfortunately. I used to really like that series. Adam, I'll look forward to visiting Hull once I am back and settled into Manchester. Yeah, please do. I mean, it's Hull is still Hull. It's still a thing. It's still a place. It's at the end of the line, unfortunately, physically and literally. We do have a Forbidden Planet now, but it's a shit one. It's not the good one that they have in London. It's the shit one. That's like the bootleg knockoff of it.
I've been into that Forbidden Planet twice.
I've been in every town, and they've never had anything I'm looking for, and I've walked out within about 5 minutes. It's shit.
I haven't been there in probably several months. Out of interest, do they still have the young lass standing by the entrance?
No, I haven't seen her since when I went in.
Yeah, because I remember the last time I went in, she worked there, and she was just stood by the entrance, and I couldn't help but wonder, she just seems to just stand there. It's just like, what exactly is she doing? I don't know. But I've never been impressed with that Forbidden Planet because it doesn't have much in the way of interesting stuff.
It's a shit shop. I mean, yeah, it don't get me wrong, you can probably get your comic books from there, and they do a lot of manga, which is kind of normal. They do model kits in there, like Gundam, and there's some blockage stuff in there. But when it comes to the Transformers section, it's absolutely abysmal. There's literally, they've had the same figures on that peg since literally probably since it opened. They've not expanded to the new lines properly or anything. It's absolutely shit. I've literally go for a walk around and I'm in and out within 5 minutes. Not even 5 minutes. It's that I've never literally physically bought anything from that shop because there's nothing in there I'm interested in. even though there is, but part of it's overpriced. A lot of it's overpriced. I get it. It's a lot of it's Japanese and a lot of it's imported from America and Japan, for instance, and so on. Because of the model kits being like Gundam kits, they were imported from Japan, or from Japan to America, then to the UK or whatever. But I get there's import fees and stuff, which I understand, and they have to make a profit. But yeah, it's quite expensive in there, and I've never seen anything or picked up anything and thought, oh, I'll buy that. Nothing, never. How much they're charging for a deluxe transformer in there is like, it's expensive. If you think it's quite expensive at TF Nation in the dealer room for some things, that place is laughable. It really is. Andy said, I went to HMV Hull and forgot what I wanted, but found Young Frankenstein on Blu-ray, and I wasn't disappointed. I haven't seen it for years. Bloody hell. I don't know how I've missed you, Andy, because I've noticed you posting on Facebook saying you've been in Hull or been in Hull City Centre, and for some reason we've never crossed paths. How strange. It is a small world. It really is a small world, because remember that little guy that we know, a guy called Tony Sam? Is it Frussell? Someone called Tony Frussell, I don't know. It's some small person that lives down the street, down that way. Yeah, him. Before we even knew what auto assembly was, this was back in 2009, and I watched this video and I thought it was a woman at first. Yeah, I actually thought it was a woman in drag. I actually thought it was a woman making a video. That it was the first video I saw of Tony, and he was talking about like his excitement. This was like before auto assembly of 2009, and that's when I first discovered there was a Transformers convention in the UK. Obviously, we didn't go to the 2009 one because we missed out on the tickets, didn't we? Do you remember? We missed out on the tickets because the tickets had closed the tickets, and so this was a pre-video that Tony had put up, and I commented saying, "Oh, I never even knew there was a Transformers convention in the UK. Wow!" And then he messaged me saying, "Oh, you're in the UK. Whereabouts do you live?" And I went, "Oh, I'm in Hull." And he went, "Oh, I live in Hull as well." And that's how we discovered each other or communicated through YouTube first. And it was 2010 Auto Assembly when we met face to face for the first time. Yeah, and it went downhill from there, I think. No, we love you really, Tony. We love you really, Tony. But no, it's just like, yeah, but it's kind of funny of how small the world is, because there's another guy that lives. Obviously, I think he lives Hornsey. I think he lives near Hornsey, which is for those that don't go. Well, Hornsey, I've never really liked it. We used to go there on days out on a weekend, and it's nothing there. It's boring as hell. But anyway, I digress. But no, it was. I think he lives near Hornsey or something. But he sometimes makes a trip into Hull. Forgotten the kid's name. But yeah, there's another guy that is within the area of where we live. So yeah, it's mad. It's a very small world. It really is. Because not many people from Hull, like, I don't know many people in Hull really that are like go to like conventions. Well, to be honest, we don't really, most of the people that we know of or met that go to like things like back in the day Auto Assembly and now TF Nation are like people that are like Manchester, Newcastle, London, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, them kind of areas where they come from. There's not many locally to us that we know except for Tony and Sam and myself, and that's it. I usually go on a Friday morning. Oh, right, okay. That's probably why we miss you then, because I'm not up very early in the morning. It's very rare. It is very rare that it is very rare that I get up at a time and end up in town before 12. Very rare. But anyways, I think we're best bringing this to an end. This has been a fantastic live stream, actually. I've actually really enjoyed it tonight. We're literally coming up to 4 hours. We have been live for 4 hours. This is probably one of the longest streams I've done in a long time, and it's actually been a great live stream for the first live stream of 2026 for myself. I would just like to say a big thank you to Sam for coming in last minute. And congratulations on you getting your place, and I hope everything goes well with all the proceedings. But yeah, so I just want to say one quick one thing, just go through like I always do. Just want to say a big thank you to Andy, Smizno, Raymond, someone called 000Firestorm, no idea what that is. Amazing at H or H. I think it's meant to be H. That I always get that name wrong. Sorry, fella. I think that's it. And Andy Pram I've already mentioned. Raymond and obviously Adam as well. So I just want to say a big thank you to everyone that joined me tonight. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Thank you to I don't know how, Andy. I don't know how you've stayed with us for like 4 hours. He's literally been here. It was the first person to comment, and he's been here for the whole 4 hours. You say are just a I know my voice is like silky smooth, and people can't get enough of my voice on my face. But you know what I mean. Yeah. But I just want to say a big thank you to everybody for joining me tonight. Thank you so much, and thank you again to Sam for joining me. So until next time. Luckily, my connection on this computer was held up. I haven't had any sort of issues with connection, because for some reason this computer keeps stopping connection for some reason. But I've not had a problem with that tonight, thank God. But anyway, so thank you. Let's just thank you very much. Thank you. That's for you, Sam.
Yeah, no worries. Good one. No worries. Right, well, have a great night, everyone. And take care. And yeah, I'll update everybody in a few weeks when things have moved on and all that. Right. Anyway, night, everyone. Night, young nosy.
Right, I'm going to end the stream now.
Everyone.
Thank you very much,
See
everybody.
Bye.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and see you soon.